Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 129 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by my beloved co-host, Lord Cognito. Cog, how are you today?
I'm doing good, but first off, happy birthday to the birthday boy. How we doing? What is he, 16? How's 16?
Yeah.
I remember my 16, man. Woo!
Sweet 16 was good.
Sweet 16, man. What's going on? How's
28, by the way, for those who are wondering. Yeah.
I remember that, man. Those are the best years. 28, I'm going to tell you, as an old head, this is prime Matty now. Now, like, the most fun is probably like 28, low 30, 28, 32 range. Oh, it's glorious.
I'm excited for my 30s, believe it or not.
Yes, 30's fun. 30s are fun.
Because I feel like I'm still in my training arc where I'm learning a lot about me, my body, what I need, how I operate as a human. I feel like I'm at the end of that arc and I'm about to hit that prime you're talking about. Because I don't feel like I'm in my prime right now, but like I feel I'm finally about to hit it. And I'm excited for my 30s because then it's like I learned everything for the first 30 years, and now I get to apply it and have some fun before I start breaking down. So
yeah, that's where I'm at. When you get to the 40, it's maintenance. That's when things break, and you like, yo, what happened? I'm not at my highest power level. Like this is not the premium experience that I'm used to. So now you're going through it, man. But yeah, real quickly, the stomach stuff. I'm learning my body. Obviously, you've been a big inspiration, you know what I'm saying, as far as,
thank you.
Learning and water intake and what foods. The classic reference I use for my Transformers head, there's if anybody watched Transformers, the movie, when Megatron gets turned into Galvatron, he gets a new body. So he gets arrogant. He tries to resist the person who gives him a new body, right? So that's me right now with the stomach issues. Every time I resist and my stomach says, yo, we ain't ready for that. No, God. And I'll be like, I accept your terms. I accept you. Because the pain, you be in pain if you don't listen. So that's where I'm in this. Okay, what can I get away with? What can I not? How can I introduce stuff? And then the other thing real quickly, because a lot of people I noticed was asking, I did have to drop a little weight. And it hurts your ego as a guy that likes to lift a lot and be the biggest dude in the room. And you know what I'm saying? So I was like, look, you want to be the biggest in the room and shorten your lifespan, or you want to slim down just a little bit, cut up, get your cardio up, because all of that stuff helps with diverticulitis in my condition. So shout out to the doctors. They're really walking me through. They're helping me. It's been an adjustment. It's been an adjustment. And shout out to you for holding me down during this period of figuring things out, doctor's appointments and all that stuff.
You don't got to worry about that at all. That's no problem. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I get you entirely. Like I haven't talked about it much publicly at all, just because like I didn't have any answers. Like for those who don't know, like I missed the Last Stand event in Texas a couple months ago because I thought I had an inner ear issue, but it turns out they think I may have what's called vestibular migraines, because what's been happening since November of last year is I deal with a lot of swaying, like the room sways, my body sways, like it's almost not still ever. And it was really aggressive, but then they put me on like a migraine focused diet. So I think of that because you mentioned about like bending the knee to certain parts of your body. They're like, yeah, no chocolate, no aspartame, that's fine. Like no alcohol, that's fine. I don't drink anyway. But there's a list of things like, yeah, no tomatoes, no this, no that. And so I like sneak in a dish of pasta, and then all of a sudden the room's moving and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, all right, fine. I will listen to you, body.
Facts.
And so I've been making all these adjustments, and they can't tell if it's vestibular migraines until I get these 2 balance tests done, until I get a brain MRI done, which is in July, the week I move, which is great. Yeah, so it's been a lot.
Brain MRI? Did they tell you? I'm scared of those. What's the? Don't
worry, I found a cheat code for that. I wussed out of the first one. I couldn't do it. They put me in the coffin. I thought of you right away. I was like, nah. They put me in. They didn't even leave the room. I was like, get me out. I was like, no. I was like, get me out. And then I did research, and I called the doctor. I was like, look, I said, I'm usually a trooper with this stuff. This is not me. But I was like, I can't do this. Is there any other options? I found out about this thing. It's an open MRI, and it's like the front, the top, everything's open, Cog. Nice. It's for guys like us.
Yes.
You have two things to your side, but nothing above or in front. I'm not excited because my wallet's gonna hurt from this, but I am feeling relieved because if they were like, "No, sorry, you gotta go in there." Knock my ass out, bro. I'm not going in there on my own.
Do that. Facts. I'm with you. Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. But so I'm right there with you. And we share this with our audience because, we like to remind the audience, like, we're human and health is wealth, right? Like, we try to carry that mindset. And that's not just hitting the gym, lifting weights. I haven't been in the gym in a while. I've been going on walks every day. That's been my new, like, outdoorsman kind of vibe. But, health is wealth is just these types of mindsets, like paying attention, listening, getting things checked, getting the right answers. And so when I have updates personally, I'll share them as well. But I've tried to keep it to myself because I didn't want to worry anyone. Because at first it was just like, what the hell's wrong with me? Like, it was getting aggressive. And I was like, okay, that's concerning because I can't see anything. But then it settled down. So I was like, okay, that's a good sign when things start to
do the right thing. What I like about it is getting clarity. Just keep doing the test to get you to the conclusion of what it actually might be. That's part of health as well. Keep not being proactive and not letting it sit and just suffering in silence. And I don't know what's going on. And you're doing the right thing, bro.
Yeah. So with that random check-in on everyone's health is wealth, welcome to Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. We hope you're all doing fantastic. Speaking of health is wealth, treat yourselves. For my birthday, my lovely fiance took me to a spa. So imagine me getting my persona on and walking around, sitting in all these hot tubs, these saunas, just getting my bougie ass out on it was nice. It was really nice.
Yeah, those things are nice, man.
Shout out to the Sojo Spa Club. So nice. So nice. And they got a view of New York City from there. I was like,
do they offer the Manny's and the Petties in there? Or is it just a spa? Is it a spa?
I think so. They got like everything. Hydrotherapy. They got massages. The masseuses were out at the time I showed up, though. I was like, damn. You can even stay overnight on weekends if you want, which we did last year. We didn't do this year. It's great for like a little day trip. Yeah, you should do it. You should do it.
Yeah, I need to incorporate that into my life.
It's in your backyard. I think you'd like it.
Oh yeah, we'll talk after. I got to get the details.
I got you.
No doubt.
Anyway, shout out to them. But beyond all that, we're an Xbox podcast. We got a lot of gaming news this week to get into. And as always, if you're new here, you like what we're doing here, you can sign up to our Patreon, patreon.com/laststandmedia. You get early access to our weekly Xbox podcast, Defining Duke. You'll get every other week an episode of Defining Duke Ultimate. Episode 112 just went live, and it's our top 5 most anticipated Xbox exclusives for 2024. We actually had the ability to talk about the future, so we don't care how early we are. We were like, you know what? Let's talk about it now. Let's do it now. So we did exactly that. That's live now if you want to go ahead and check that out. Patrons only. And then otherwise, for everyone else, we're available for free on Sundays across Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube at youtube.com/laststandmedia. So you can check us out anywhere, and we're just happy to have you here. And again, a big thank you to everyone who's been supporting the show. We're doing really well, and we could not be more proud of what our community's helped us accomplish here, because without you, there is no us. So thank you. We appreciate you.
Salute.
Now, some of our community cog has some follow-ups for us, and then we'll get into a few mobile reviews. But some of the patrons here, they have 1 bone to pick with you and then 2 to pick with me.
All right,
so
let's
get into it. The Snack Squatch writes in, this is just a follow-up, no bones to pick here. Hey guys, I just want to follow up with Cog in my last write-in from last week. Cog asked why I was looking into exploring Xbox and why I've been steering away from Sony. The main reason is I don't like the direction Jim Ryan is taking them. I think their strategy of going live service is making a lot of the games we're seeing generic and uninventive. Their first-party studios are lacking diversity. Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon are very similar. One is a samurai setting and one is a futuristic setting. God of War and The Last of Us are similar in many ways. I feel Sony used to push the limits by creating groundbreaking IPs and coming up with new and creative games. It seems if a game can't make a TV show, a movie, or an animated series, it's not worth them investing in. Xbox's last showcase, to me, showed off more creative and fresh games, and that's what I'm looking for with the limited time I have to game. Third-party games like Persona are coming to Game Pass. It's looking like, I can get what I'm looking for. I still love many games on my PlayStation. I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy 16. But it feels like the new games that are coming are more rare to find on their platform. Thanks for all you do. So, Cog, does this answer suffice, sir?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's platform identity. I think what we're seeing this generation now is the Series X and S carve out its identity finally. Western RPGs, shooter box, and now they're getting the influx of the Japanese games. They're getting, to be honest, I've always said their strategy was, in my opinion, more sound from a diversity standpoint. You can't say that a genre is not on the platform now, right? And that's the beauty of it when you're trying to promote a service like Game Pass. Whereas the place, I feel you being a little hard on PlayStation, but I get it. Like I feel like, he's like, hey, if it's not the movie game, the hashtag just one type energy, then it's like, yo, they don't really care about it. But in their credit, I want to say that, look, they're at least trying to fortify a weakness, which is multiplayer and live service. Now, granted, it's going to be a shock to some. Me and Colin have this conversation that they're going to make a lot. Not all of them are going to hit, right? But I like the attempt, right? Because to me, if you to Snack Squatch point, if you continue to make just ones all day, after a while, it do get redundant. After a while, it does get. So I understand his point. I think his answer was great. I like where his head's at as far as why he's liking the Xbox ecosystem now. And I've always told people, if you like a variety of games, that's the platform for you. You're going to get it all. So I think their strategy is sound.
Well, there we go. Now, speaking of just one cog, Macro has a write-in for you. All right, Defining Dookie, I got beef. I love you guys and love the show, but I've got a bone to pick with the Lord. Last week, you said Fable doesn't count as a hashtag just one because it's an existing series. And to that, I ask, is God of War hashtag just one? Those new games are a continuation from an older series. That's something else. So either Fable is potentially just one or God of War 2018 and Ragnarok don't count. In all seriousness, thanks for the show, guys. Have a buying an Xbox would be cheaper than upgrading my PC for Starfield kind of day. Cog, a lot of people pressing the just one initiative here and coming at you. I'm not a fan of this. You've established the boundaries, time in, time out, but we keep seeing this. We keep seeing a lot of lack of education and understanding on the just one. I saw this and I knew the answer, but I was like, I'm going to let my man school him. I'm going to let my man take Macro to task and let him hear it so the other people know better next week when they write in.
Shout out to Macro. Look, what he's saying, and I get it, because what it is the community has heard this term now, and they are fighting back. They want to silence this narrative, right? They don't like it. I'm like, bro, these are the criteria. New IP, third person, over the shoulder. You know what I mean? Not a remake of an existing sequel or sequel, or a franchise. So to his point, yeah, God of War does not count. God of War existed during my man's era, the Jaffe era, right? So Fable, by its nature, doesn't hit the criteria. But I want to clarify one thing to Macro's point. I want to defend Macro. Okay. This is where I am, I'm going to say lenient, but understanding. When I see Hellblade 2, right, and I see Fable, to me, that's just one energy. You got all the criteria, right? Except you existed before. Now, to Sony's credit, because people are like, yo, God of War didn't count. Yeah, but guess what? They made Horizon, right? Forbidden West. That was a new IP alloy, a new character in that vein. Ghost of Tsushima, you can't take that away from them. Jin Sakai, new character in that vein, right? All we saying is new from Xbox. We want to see a new protagonist to take us to the future, to put the face on the box, right? To say this is someone we've never seen before, a character that we now associate as the new generation of Xbox. So that's what I know y'all want it really bad. Everyone's hit me with the the compulsion game, you know what I'm saying? Like I get it until we see, and we got to see how many A's you got, because that's production is part of it. Then we'll, the jury's out. But I feel y'all. Listen, last point I'll say. It's going to happen. I'm actually not worried about Xbox in that, but stop trying to force the action with things that don't qualify. You're coming at me with Hi-Fi Rush. You're coming at me with Fable. You're coming at me with Hellblade 2. No, those are not hashtag just. I'm sorry. I know you want it really bad. I know. It's going to come. Don't worry about it. You're good. Enjoy those games because they fire.
There you go. And there everyone else has it, because I know, Macro, you're not the only one. I'm picking on you, Macro. I'm just messing with you. The rest of the audience, beware.
One last thing. I do have to clarify one thing. There's a lot of narratives I also see going on that because I am a fan of hashtag just one, that COG values these games more than other games. No, actually, I don't. You know me, I'm turn-based, Western RPG, action adventure. Those are really But what I think the Xbox community has to understand, because they like to minimize just ones from Sony. They like to, oh, those are movie. People like, some gamers like strong narrative games with emotional beats. That gravitates to a certain type of gamer. All I'm saying for Xbox is diversify your portfolio so you have at least a few of those that are new characters for your own. But it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It's all subjective. It's taste. That's the point I want to say, because I'm starting to see that narrative. Well, Cog, he just values cinematics over gameplay. Cog, he doesn't care about true gameplay and innovating the thing. If that was the case, I wouldn't be capping for Starfield how hard I'm capping for Starfield, right? That's not the graphical fidelity. Yo, it got so bad, Matty. Dudes are trying to like, Starfield's just what? It has a third-person mode. I'm like, no, no, we're not doing it.
It's kind of on the edge, in fairness, but it's not. Yeah, it's not just third-person. So
it's default mode when you boot it up.
It's got the just one option, we'll call it.
Yes, it has an option. It's a side thing. Yeah. All right, I'm done with my rant. I'm done because this is a fun one. That was a fun one.
I do have to say, I'm souring a bit on Xbox pursuing a just one. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, because I've actually, this next write-in sets me up. So let me do this. Ramsey Schroeder writes, and great last name, by the way, to the illustrious and distinguished Lord Cognito and Matty, but mostly Matty. In the most recent episode of Ultimate, you pointed out how Guerrilla transitioned from Killzone to Horizon, and that Playground has the potential to do the same with Forza to Fable. I agree. But you also said that you, and I quote, love Horizon. For someone who loves Horizon, I can't help but notice that you have yet to play Forbidden West, an incredible game. I get it. Last year was busy, and this year is busier. But any chance we get a Forbidden West playthrough and review from you between Final Fantasy 16 and Starfield? Thanks, and have a got hit in the face with a crowbar kind of day. Oh. Here's why I've kind of soured on the Just One experience, is because I've sort of soured on my appeal. Not that these games are bad, but my appeal for what PlayStation's been putting out. I have yet to finish Ragnarok, not out of, oh, it's bad, just lack of interest. I have yet to finish Forbidden West. I don't know, like these games don't speak to me as much anymore. And I know it'll sound fanboyish, but I don't care.
Oh,
I much prefer Xbox's approach to their portfolio. I mean, again, if you know me and you know my taste, like Xbox is feeding specific people like me. It's an RPG haven right now, and they're starting to invest in Japan at the same time.
Bro,
I mean, come on, y'all. It's not rocket science. I mean, I get when people have different tastes, and I'm just speaking for myself. Of course, speaking for the business, it makes sense, and Cogs pointed out multiple times why. But if I'm just speaking for myself, that wouldn't get me like, oh, yo, let's go. It's to me, like, it's starting to feel a little by the numbers, which is what PlayStation didn't pioneer. But yeah, I think there's some truth to what Snack Squatch said, like a degree of like big budget, like how can we build this out from here type of approach to game development. And when I always say it's the same thing with live service, when you start developing for business and you start not focusing on creativity, I think you lose the picture overall. Xbox is in a unique position where their back's kind of against the wall and they got to make these types of experiences. And also we've kind of been through, not that we've seen the last of it, but we've been through a lot of the live service setup. We've been through those woes with your Halo Infinites, the highs of it with the Forza Horizon 5. We're seeing it continue to be set up with Sea of Thieves. Like they got a lot of those pieces there where it's kind of now established. We're moving into the first party stuff. We're going to get a lot. We're going to kind of have potentially, if they deliver, that kind of PS4 era, like just another single player banger. The question that I ask is, what happens years and years down the line when they're fully established? How does Xbox go from there? And that's where we'll be here. I'll be in my 30s, and we'll be talking about all that.
No.
All right, last one here. Oh, sorry. To answer your question as well about a review or a playthrough, I don't think so. I mean, it's just so much stuff going on right now. So much. I'm moving in July, but I'm reviewing 2 games right now, and I want to play Final Fantasy 16, which I'm going to because that demo was raw.
Well, we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it.
Podcast thoughts.
Yeah. Oh, let's go. I can't wait. And so July is looking kind of open, but it might be Midnight Suns territory, man. It might be. It might be. I'm looking at it right now. Nothing. Like the direct scared me a little, Cog. I was like, oh boy. I was like, oh no, what are you going to do, Nintendo? And they filled up the fall, but still, like, Pikmin not really speaking to me. I'm like, okay, there might be a window here. It's like, to me, Disco Elysium and Midnight Suns territory. So my man Jimmy Champagne, he has been campaigning over the deck experience for Midnight Suns. He says it's great on Steam Deck.
Yes, it is.
So,
it is.
I played a little bit of it on Steam Deck.
I ain't firing up on my ally yet. I haven't even fired it up on this bad boy. We're gonna do that later today. I forgot.
Let's get a correction in. We'll get into the news from here. Miko Bell writes in, what's good, Dukes? This write-in is more a correction for Matty from last week. Matty mentioned that the Final Fantasy 16 has a stagger gauge, insinuating that it possibly came from Sekiro. However, Final Fantasy and recent titles such as Final Fantasy 13 and 7 Remake have incorporated stagger mechanics in gameplay. Thank you, gentlemen, and it's been awesome to see how hyped you are every episode. Have a great week. Thank you, Miko. I appreciate the correction. That is entirely accurate. Although I was talking in the sense of inspiration, I was more so talking about its application and its functionality in action game. In my defense, but you are totally right. And I can't believe, I love the 13 series. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Okay. But nonetheless, I appreciate you, Miko. Thank you for the correction. Cog, shall we start with the news?
Let's get it.
All right. Phil Spencer had some explaining to do on Halo's absence from the showcase, because that was trending on Twitter the day of the showcase. I don't know if you saw, a lot of people were very upset at Infinite's absence, which is kind of a good thing, right? We were typically hearing a lot of bad things, so people wanted to see more. They wanted answers, and they thought this showcase would be it. Of course, that was not the case. We did predict that. Now, we have the quote here from Phil. I wouldn't say Halo is of lesser importance, but we have over 20 studios now. I'll go back to the years where I basically had 4 games: Fable, Forza, Halo, Gears, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We've got more games now. We've been pretty public about the leadership change at 343. You can kind of see that in some social things the team have been doing around seasons, but I don't want to force them to talk about their longer term vision until they're ready. I think you'll see some pretty cool things coming, end quote. We're going to be talking about Halo a lot in this episode, but Cog, your thoughts on Halo's absence and Phil's reasoning behind it? I'm a fan of what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously Halo is very personal to me, so I want to be respectful in that sense that I understand why people would feel upset that it's not there, right? I get it. That's what we're used to. Halo is synonymous with the brand, but I got to be honest, I'm on Team Matty with this because we got to start a new day. Like he said, he called it 4 horsemen apocalypse. You know what Kyle called it. It was the burger, fries, and the shake. And it's like, bro, we get it. Like, that has always been synonymous with Xbox. But it's nothing, to me, it's so beautiful to see people getting excited about new titles from these studios, and I'm way more hyped. And guess what? If you're trying to win this quote unquote console war, streaming war, whatever you're doing with PlayStation and Nintendo, then you need these titles. These are the titles that's going to bring people in. And I'm excited to hear about, the Fables in the mix now, obviously, but that was part of the joint. But obviously, Clockwork Revolution, Avowed, Starfield. These are the next up, those new rookies, those new faces, man, the new jerseys. You tired of just running out the same old veterans all the time. Like, bro, change your lineup. This is the new scoring line that we do in hockey now. Like, we scoring line 1, we respect you. This is the new wave. The rookies, let the young ones shine and do their thing. So yeah, I'm with him on this. And the key point he said, Infinite show. Remember, we all said on the prediction show, like, if you're going to show it when you have the new certain affinities, new mode, whatever. Don't just roll out some season and obviously we're going to talk about cutscenes and all that stuff that's going on with them. But you know what I'm saying? Like, don't roll out that regular thing and be like, hey guys, we're ready to get back. No, you could go away for a little bit until you get substantial. I actually love the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell by some of the news we're going to get into today, like Cog alluded to with the seasonal cutscenes and whatnot, there's still a lot in flux at this team. And Phil is absolutely right to make the call here. Like, do not include them in the showcase. Probably also they weren't ready to show anything at all, but we've said here on the show that they need to just get the heat off of them. And that's by showcasing other stuff. Halo can thrive in this new Xbox environment where Starfield is the big popping thing, no doubt about it. I still don't think Halo is going to be the tentpole moving forward. I think it's going to be something like Elder Scrolls 6. I'll stand by that. But I do think Halo is, as Phil said, synonymous with Xbox, and you need it to be doing well to kind of keep that identity for the OG brand. And if it's not ready to show, which it's clearly not, do not rush their game plan when you have an abundance of other stuff to show off. And you can let Halo work in peace and quiet without any pressure, and just let Infinite focus on what it needed to in the first place. Consistent quality updates. We're seeing a lot of good feedback from season 3, season 4. A lot of people have some good thoughts. So I feel like they're kind of trying to get into a rhythm, which will be great long term, because guess how, I hate that it had to be this way, but guess how Master Chief Collection ended up? It got into a rhythm, got into a good, steady rhythm where it just felt like eventually people had that moment where they woke up and went, oh my God, there's so much here. And I think they understand Infinite can enjoy that same benefit. They just keep at it. But we'll talk a bit about what's next for Halo. To me, that is the really interesting talking point there. Like what they work on next. And Matt Booty did have a lot to share on that in his interview. That'll be at the top of our official news rollout, which is, by the way, the biggest we've ever had it in Duke history. We have a lot to get into, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, for sure.
Phil also had some thoughts on his Starfield 11 out of 10 comment. For those who don't remember, just to paraphrase, Phil hopped on the Kind of Funny Games Xcast, and he said that Starfield being an 11 out of 10 game wouldn't change much for the Xbox outlook officially. It wouldn't make people go out and buy Xboxes. And he said that many people are committed to the PlayStation ecosystem, and that's not going to change it. Here's what Phil had to say in response to that. Quote, "The part I didn't like about what I said was quality games is critically important to our strategy. So it's not that Starfield getting an 11 out of 10 isn't our goal, although that's a silly way of putting it. I don't know if I'm going to use review scores as the mark of quality, but making the best Starfield is absolutely our goal. I want to build the absolute best games we can," end quote. So what do we think about this this rephrasing of what he had to say?
Yeah, I go for it. Shed a little tear for this one. I'm gonna say, look, I'm a little thing in the spectrum of the gaming community. I'm not the biggest, right? But this was literally what I said to him. Like literally. And I'll give you guys some inside baseball, because I know I felt in his heart in the moment, he may have just slightly misspoke, because, you know what I'm saying, it was a rough situation. Anybody to be under that fire from the Redfall, situation, and then everyone was talking, what if it's not a 10 out of 11? Xbox is doomed, bro. Remember, it was an energy.
Yeah.
And, remember, that's what prompted me to reach out. Right. And that was literally what I said. I just said, I know how that could be misconstrued. And because I know, honestly, that's what he really meant, you know what I'm saying, so to speak. So the inside baseball is, prior, I'm going to say in the theater of the showcase, prior to them actually showing the showcase, right? Mm-hmm. They all come out, leadership, and, pretty much everybody had their kind of speeches about, hey, get ready, and we're excited, or whatever. But Phil actually had more heartfelt thought. And it was kind of like, look, I'm a little emotional sometimes during the things I may have said something. And to me, I equated it exactly to the Kind of Funny interview. You know what I'm saying? And the importance of it, and how, he realized, what that is. And a person who's a man, we all, listen, I said a bunch of foolishness in the moment as well either. You know what I'm saying? Or I made a misquote, and LSM corrects us immediately, right? You're like, yo, bro, that was wrong right there, Cog, Matty, or whatever. It's part of the game. He's not exempt from that. So to me, I don't know, Matty Salova, I feel I help contribute to this movement. I'm not saying I was a single person, not saying that, but it warmed my heart to see him acknowledge that from an executive level. I do, you know what I'm saying? I think at the end of the day, say what you want about, his leadership style or Xbox Game Studios, and there's tons of things we don't agree with that the Xbox does sometimes, but you can't take away that aspect from him. And I will always champion real man talk. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I wanted to give him that. But yeah, I felt I had a little
excellent work. That DM was magical.
Bro.
Let's talk a bit about Xbox avoiding VR and AR. We get this right in a lot on Defining Duke. What can Xbox do to get into VR? Well, Matt Booty answered this question in an interview with Hollywood Reporter. He said, quote, "I think for us, it's just a bit of wait until there's an audience there. We're very fortunate that we've got these big IPs that have turned into ongoing franchises with big communities. We have 10 games that have achieved over 10 million players life to date, which is a pretty big accomplishment. But that's the kind of scale that we need to see success for the game. And it's not quite there yet with AR, VR," end quote. So they're looking pretty deep into the future. And when you look at something like PlayStation with the VR2 not really doing good numbers, I think 600,000 was the last number we heard for it.
Yeah.
And where Xbox wants to go with it, the base isn't there. So I don't think you'll really ever see Xbox in VR for decades, perhaps, until somehow it becomes smaller peripherals, less expensive, more games. And I like this approach for Xbox because their focus should be quality console games. Like it has to be now. And I think it has to be for a while. Not just, okay, like we got Starfield right, we got Hellblade right, we got the whole class of 2018, 2019 right. All right, like what's next? Like, no, you do it again. Let the cycle begin again. So, like that's what I'm hoping is the focus for them beyond their cloud aspirations and how they're going to move with Game Pass and getting stuff on other platforms. We know that's a big part of it all. But I like that VR AR is just absolutely not a focus for them. I think it's a good thing. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, as the newly instated VR dude, I agree. I mean, look, people always like, oh, I don't understand why they're not involved. Focus on your weaknesses. When Microsoft got into the games industry, even myself was like, what are they doing? You're the Office guys. I don't know you to create good games. I know Nintendo. I know Sega. Even Sony had a period of having to prove themselves as the new kid on the block at first, right? And it came with Sony, online, PlayStation. Well, that's why that system is so important to me, because they had to finally establish their studios. And then also, they made some acquisition, they made some moves to bring some people in. So Xbox to me is still in that pocket, and especially coming off the Xbox One generation. The last thing you need to be doing is diversifying some portfolio of all this equipment, peripherals, and tech, and you ain't got your home in order as far as quality games. And we know that was the case last generation. This generation, we're seeing finally the fruits of the investment. This is the moment, the golden era that we were all anticipating. You're seeing the fruits of it, right? Stay, like you said, Matty, stay focused. Don't divert. And here's the thing that I love that they're doing. I'm going to talk about the ally in a minute, but I can talk about this. I mean, this is public record, so I can now talk about it, but they're working with Meta. Like they're literally bringing Game Pass. Satya came out to the thing, you know what I mean? And like I said, they're looking at partnering with things in markets that they may not be 100% certain will be a correct investment for them to go all in. And I think that's a sound approach, especially if you're trying to be wealthy and you're trying not to make stupid decisions. And no disrespect to, the PlayStation, it's doing better than PSVR 1, but even if you had to put a gun to their head, they would like 10 million. You know what I'm saying? They would like 5 million PSVR 2 users and things of that nature. And it took Meta a long time as well to get to the 20 plus or whatever it is. They are. I agree with this strategy. I think it's sound. Stay partnering. You look at who's come up, and so far they chose Meta, and that's where they at, and they go stay in their lane making games.
Absolutely. And I think it's great. So that's what's going on with VR AR for those who have written in plenty about it. Let's look at an interesting partnership here where it appears a mobile Forza game is on the way in a newly announced collaboration with Hutch. Here is the memo posted on Hutch's own website. We're excited to announce that we are collaborating with Turn 10 Studios on a new standalone mobile game. This new game will be a celebration of car customization and automotive culture. Our two studios began discussing the joint project in 2020, and together we were keen to take advantage of Forza's world-leading gameplay and visual style alongside Hutch's experience in mobile live ops. So the partnership was formed, rooted in our shared desire to create a platform leading automotive gaming experiences. We set out to build a fresh and unique game tailored to a mobile audience, offering engaging gameplay that players can enjoy on the go. The new game, due to be fully revealed in due course, will focus on car customization as a core gameplay mechanic. Hutch will be leading the development of the title with creative input and guidance from Turn 10. Here's what Sean, our CEO, had to say about the partnership. Our philosophy for game development is mobile first, with gameplay experiences that work for players on this platform. We're committed to creating strategic games that enable our community of players to celebrate their passion for cars. It's that same passion for cars, as well as creating platform-leading titles about cars, that brought us together with Turn 10. We look forward to sharing more with you soon. And I know this isn't sexy news by any means, but we know one of the big reasons that Xbox wants ABK is for the K, right? They want that Candy Crush cash. And I got to say that this is kind of right where they want to be. Like they have the console game in Forza Motorsport on the way, and then you've got the mobile side piece that's being handled by someone else. And I think this is where Xbox kind of wants to be. You know, it's no longer going to be like bringing Gears Pop to the stage. You know, this is just going to be a quiet partnership to decide to see if they can increase monetization of their titles. I'm curious, you know, we were just talking about PlayStation and a potential formulaic approach. Do you worry a little bit about Xbox's mobile gaming initiative? We saw Mighty Doom. That was Bethesda, but still a part of the Xbox family. Again, we know that King is very, very attractive to Xbox and what they're trying to accomplish with mobile games. So what do you feel about this type of push? And of course, the partnership between Hutch and Turn 10.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, as a hardcore gamer, I could care less about mobile gaming.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing that I'm going to really participate unless they figure out creative ways. If you remember in the Xbox One era, they tried to embrace this mobile and console synergy. I remember these companion apps for like Rise, Sun, and Rome, and you could do certain things on mobile. We've had experiences in the past with even Mass Effect and, you know, different little games where you have mobile things that could contribute or whatever. You know, it's a slippery slope, but I will say as far as like standalone mobile extensions of their franchises, for example, let's say Starfield wants to do something, I do anticipate it. I do anticipate as ABK happens or as they continue their footprint in the mobile space, I can see spinoffs of the top games on a mobile that may be standalone, right? And just given a different type of kind of experience. We've seen it with the top, like PUBG as a mobile, Call of Duty, you know, all these things for the most part have mobile components, and there's money, even though I do not care in the least about none of this stuff. There is a market for it. So I have to be cognizant of that. So yeah, you know, it's where I'm with you is if it starts to permeate the showcases to the point, like people, I love indies and people me and Sav are having like an ongoing war about their place. Like Sav is like, bro, you know, this stage ain't big enough for you, bro. Like Star Wars don't want, he's like, unless you doing something, you know, we have a place for you. We have a conference for you type energy. Like he's on some elitist, I'm calling you out, so I'm putting your business out there because me and you going at it with it. And it's funny. I know where he's going, but you know me as a person, love it. He's like, nah, you got to let, you know, saying the rock. These are the future dudes and some of them make something creative and dope. Now I agree with him, not every indie, but my point of saying this is that mobile, because I am, you know, bro, you see what Marvel Snap is doing? Yeah. I was in the game, bro. Marvel Snap came out on the Keighley stage, dominated. Your man came out. He had his bars. Like it was a thing. I'm only not playing it because I know I get addicted and I don't need no other fake children in my life. Because my credit card will be crazy. I have to stay away. You see what this is doing to me. A Marvel Snap mobile on the go, and they talk about, Silver Surfer, all your people. It's over for me. I don't need that drug in my life.
But we're protecting ourselves here.
Thank you. But if I could see if they catch fire with something, then how Matty gonna feel? You know, Gears Pop come out, Starfield Pop come out on the stage.
I hate pop figures. I will not pop for anything like that.
You ain't gonna be popping.
Hell no. I do think Starfield's gonna get some type of mobile companion type of app. It's in Bethesda's DNA. I just feel like they got the talent. They know how big Starfield's gonna be. I feel like they have to have something cooking. I was surprised it wasn't at like the Starfield Direct. Like, oh, by the way, we got this for you too, like the Fallout Shelter kind of thing. I'm very surprised we didn't get that.
And low key, I played Fallout Shelter. It was kind of fire.
Fallout Shelter was amazing. No, I played that for free forever, man. I gave them money because I felt they earned it. That was the type of mobile game they made, dude.
That's how good it was.
Fantastic.
So to me, it's hashtag. All it takes is hashtag just one for a mobile for one of them to hit. And bro, that's the only thing. When they hit, there's a part of us like, damn, we gonna see these in the showcases, bro. We gonna see these. And I'm like, maybe I'm just old. I gotta let it go. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is what the young kids want. I don't know. I just hate seeing that stuff on the stage, but that's all I got on this. I'm curious how your thoughts, if you do think that if they catch fire, let's say even before, let's say King deal happens or not happen, but if they just catch fire with anything, do we start to see these permeate Xbox Developer Directs and showcases.
Yeah, probably. I'm literally basing it solely off Forza. Just like, again, they gave it like 10 plus minutes on the showcase stage because the numbers support it. Like you see 30 plus million players on Horizon 5. Like, of course, yeah, like let's throw a ton of Forza on stage. This is huge for us. But that doesn't always work for me or you or certain other gamers out there. And I think with mobile, I could see the same kind of mindset playing a factor. What, 60 million engaged users this month? Put that in the showcase. Put that in the showcase. I could see it. I hope that they restrain and understand the differences in markets, but I could totally see this mishap happening at some point down the line. I'm calling it that in advance because I don't see anyone receiving it well.
Bro, we already getting the live service joint and say what we want. Sea of Thieves, Fallout 76, or remember they had a segment back. You know what I'm saying? So I can see it, man. So I'm just getting people to put the feelers in them now, letting them get ready for what potentially could happen.
Let's talk a bit about Halo. We got two little things here. We'll combine them together and discuss. 343 Sean Barron talked on the Xbox Wire following Halo 4 or Halo Infinite Season 4 debut, saying, "We still have plenty of room to improve. We'll always be working to find new ways of improving and ensuring the predictability of the service, but I'm very happy with the progress we've made there and looking forward to making it 4 in a row with Season 5 later this year. Where we need to start showing more noteworthy improvements is with quality, both technical and experiential quality. My hope is that over the next few releases and updates, we'll start seeing quality make the same type of jumps that we've seen with consistency and satisfaction." Meanwhile, 343 is ditching their narrative cutscenes for new seasons, according to 343 community director Brian Gerard. He wrote on his personal Twitter account, "PSA, as we refined our top priorities and shifted resources internally this year, we had to make this decision to forego seasonal narrative cutscenes to make room for the team to continue focusing on highly requested features, content, and improvements for Halo Infinite. These trade-offs are never easy to make. We truly appreciate your support as the team works to make Halo Infinite the best experience possible. While the job is far from over, Season 4 marks another big step forward, and we remain committed to this journey with the Halo community." Now, Cog, you're the live service guy, so I would love to hear your thoughts on this first. What do you make of seasonal cutscenes being dropped? I don't know the importance of this. For me, I'm kind of like, all right, sounds good to me, but I don't know if as a live service fan, like this is a big deal, frankly. And then what do you make of their focus now being like, okay, we've seen leaps in consistency, we've seen leaps and people being satisfied. Now we want leaps in quality and like what we deliver. How does this speak to you as someone who, just like me, you want to see Infinite start thriving?
Yeah, it's bittersweet because I'm always about the core gameplay experience being fixed first, and prioritization has to be there. So their messaging is correct. It has to be the quality. You can't have desync issues. You can't have these core broken things going on in a game. And then you got to give the most requested community feedback features. We talked about the customization and monetization model, which was extremely limited from the beginning. So it seems that they're on the right track. They're doing all the modes that they were supposed to be promising. For me, though, as a Destiny player, as a live service guy who I look right now, Season of Deep is on. And to have a narrative component attached to every new season, to me, holds weight. It's a nice introduction. Okay, why are we doing these things? What's going on in the world? And I think with Halo, I actually liked their little seasonal cinemas and narratives that they used to have. Now, granted, that's probably cost money, resources, and they're probably looking at it like, we need to focus on the core game before we worry about story. I think where I'm saddened, Matty, is that the reality of that, God, you ain't gonna get no extra content for this Master Chief story. And I'm struggling with that. I am struggling with whatever the new next Halo game is called, right? That then I have to wait another 4 to 5 years or potentially longer for the next narrative installment of the Master Chief saga. That's what frustrated. And the potential of Infinite in name itself, Infinite, we're going to be here. Right? You know what I'm saying? Now the reality is like you just in name, but then it don't look like it's happening. And that saddens me because I want this story to continue. But I know before I go doom and gloom, there is hope based on some other news that I think we're going to add to the show. So I'm not going to go to right. So that is giving, when we get to that, a glimmer of hope. But as of right now, for this news, yeah, it was a little saddened, but I understand why. But it doesn't mean I can't be sad that ain't gonna be no narrative content in the future. But yes, fix your game. I understand the core. When Destiny went through its down, they had to fix the core issues. That takes priority over everything. Because if you have a good, fun, playing, functional game, that is priority. So to the letter of the law, they are correct. Just what they'll still do story after.
Yeah. I think of a quote from Todd Howard, which I fight to my core against because he's speaking of some of my favorite franchises, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, when he says it, which is, it's good for things to go away and be able to miss them sometimes. And I think Halo will benefit from that, where I totally get your desire. And I was right there with you with story content being added in. But I think the reality is, if you start to piecemeal the rest of the Infinite story, I'm open-minded to see if they end up trying that. So just to prevent this being a poorly aged quote, I am open to it. But I feel like it would just lead to more of that underwhelming, that wasn't what I was looking for. But if it's something more complete and cohesive in a game, maybe 5 years from now, I think that's the winning formula for them, man. Like, I just think that sets them up in a spot where we've missed Halo for potentially long enough. We just know Infinite's been hanging around. Maybe Infinite, they could just do a PR spin later and say, like, yeah, you know, the multiplayer stuff. Yeah, like, that's Infinite, man. And then just focus on the story stuff in a separate game. I just, to me, it feels like you're going to end up catching another L if you start delivering pieces of the story over time. It sucks where Halo Infinite ended, in my opinion, especially because when it first ended, I was a little more accepting of it, thinking we'd be getting something, which we did not. More and more, I feel like they're going to want to do a full game and just really hone in on getting it right. And yeah, that means we get that sour taste in our mouth of like, damn, we never got those snow biomes. That sucks. Like, you know, we never got to experience the variety of levels. We really just got that second mission in Halo Combat Evolved on a grand scale, which is, to me, one of my favorite missions. So I love it. I love Combat Evolved. Mm-hmm. But I think that's going to be the sour truth that a lot of people have stomached. But I think, you know, when I see them scaling down certain ways, they're probably scaling up in other areas that we just don't know about. And so if that's the trade-off, I'm fine with it. I think, again, I'm very much team go away. We got shit to distract us. I know Halo's core and important, but we got shit to cover us right now. Mm-hmm. Let it go away. Let it do its thing and come back another day. And we'll talk about who could potentially come back. It doesn't have to be 343. So that'll be fun. Mm-hmm. Let's deviate from Xbox in a little bit, or for a little bit, and then talk about some other stuff. And then we'll get back into Xbox after we talk about what games we're playing. Konami. They once had Metal Gear Solid 4 running on Xbox, end quote, beautifully, end quote, at that, according to assistant producer Ryan Payton in The Ultimate History of Video Games Volume 2. Unfortunately, Konami canceled the Xbox 360 version due to the need for multiple DVD discs versus PlayStation 3 only requiring a single Blu-ray. There was never any type of exclusivity agreement for this game. Kendrick Collis writes in, "Hey guys, so a former producer of Kojima Productions, Ryan Payton, just said that the only reason MGS4 was exclusive to PS3 was because they couldn't fit the game onto the Xbox 360 DVDs. He even said that they had it up and running beautifully. I have always heard that the game couldn't be ported because it was so specifically designed for the PS3 architecture that it wasn't possible. Turns out that is true. Now knowing that the game runs just fine on other systems, do you think the game will finally be re-released for a potential MGS Collection Volume 2, since it won't be in Volume 1. Keep up the great work, guys. Y'all are awesome. Thank you, Kendrick. And just to loop this in, MGS Master Collection Volume 1, when it was announced for Switch during the Direct, Konami did come out and say it's coming to Xbox as well, October 24th, and that these individual games will be available for purchase. So you don't have to buy the whole volume. If you just want to get MGS2, you can just get that. Back to our original question, though, with Kendrick Cog. Mm-hmm. What do you make of MGS4? Do you think it's actually going to make its way to Xbox platforms with Volume 2, a standalone kind of re-release? Because this one, it seems like it could have made its way to the 360, but those dirty DVD discs got us. I was Team Blu-ray. Like, when that was a new thing, like, I loved that because, you know, the biggest sales pitch I got on it, and it always stuck with me. It was a dude at GameStop, and he said, you could punt this thing down a field and throw it in your PS3, it's fine, but your Xbox disc gets scratched and that's it. And I'm just like, it's like, okay, that's kind of nice. And that just always stuck with me.
Yeah, no, shout out to Sony. They made the correct bet. That was,
yeah.
I was on the other side for a little bit. I was part of Team HD DVD for a bit. I still got HD DVDs. It's hilarious. But yeah, it didn't work out for them. Sony's had the correct format. Blu-ray ended up taking off. And to your point, the other sale for big sale for it was that, hey, why buy? This is great for PlayStation sales in general. They were like, why buy a dedicated Blu-ray player? Just buy the PlayStation. That was the ultimate sale. And you have all this, you have a game console. So salute to them. I gotta get more information on this Konami thing. I don't know if I'm so let me armchair develop for a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. That's always fun.
Look, I get from a storage capacity standpoint that you're gonna say, you know, the Blu-ray holds more. And yes, that makes it more efficient. You can put things on potentially one Blu-ray. But I struggle with it couldn't do it on the 360 at all via multiple discs. It's a matter of, you know, obviously the cost involved with development, you know, and then who knows what the, you know, arrangements and the relationships were with companies at that time. But I will push back unless I'm challenged technically from a development level that they say no, it couldn't do it because of blah, blah, blah. That's the only thing. This is just me being silly. I'm curious. I'm very curious on that part. But other than that, yeah, I think these should come over. I think these should come over in these consoles, man. I would love to see these ones. What I always get mixed up. Which is the one? My Metal Gear's history is all over the place. Which is the one where the demo was we started on a boat, like a ship, like a freighter ship, and Snake is grabbing the bot, and that was the one that Raiden made his debut, and it was a controversial Metal Gear because you played as Snake. That was 2. Okay,
right. MGS2 you play as Raiden.
Right. So, but not from the beginning though. Like this was this game I'm talking about. You played as Snake all the way up until you got to like Big Shell. Then you got to Big Shell and past that. And then the game was like, here's Raiden. And everybody's like, yo, who's this? Who is this? And it was a huge controversy in the gaming community. People were upset. I just want, you know, that one and all the subsequent ones to come over if they have not come over already. Those are the ones I was looking at.
Yeah, you do start off, I'm just looking at this now. You do start off MGS2 as
MGS2. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I just was curious. No, okay. So yeah, 4 is later. Yeah, 4 is later. That was exclusive. That's fine. But bring them over. Bring them all over. Let's get our Lele Lalo Lulu on. Let's do it up. Let's get the Wild Kojima-ness, the Patriots, and all the craziness. One thing, he know how to do a cutscene. And I do miss David Hayter's voice. I love having Snake, you know, Snake. I do like Metal Gear, you know, just he got a little too crazy for me, so I kind of tuned out as it got older. But now I wonder, what about you? You was a big fan of this series?
I never got to finish MGS4 because it started freezing on my PS3 a ton. I think the reason I kind of believe this excuse, by the way, just because apparently the final cutscene in this game is like a 3-hour movie or something like that.
But you just put the joint down.
So I'm assuming that that's straight up a disc unto itself at that point. And I think of Mass Effect 3, or if you were, heaven forbid, which I did for a GameStop video over on Retro Rebound, if you were to buy the Mass Effect collection for 360, you'd get 1 disc for Mass Effect 1, 2 for 2, and I think 3 for the third one. So you get a massive collection. So they've printed that type of stuff out before. It's insane, but maybe they didn't find it cost effective with how many they would have had to pump out to make that possible. So I kind of believe it, but I think a business reality probably kicked in. And I got to say that if the first volume's coming, the second one should. We'll see, of course, if there's any cell processing problems that appear for the Xbox port of any kind. But nonetheless, good to see the Master Collection Volume 1 is coming to Xbox again, October 24th. And here's hoping, Kendrick, that MGS4 does make its way, which I have some faith. All right, Flintlock Siege of Dawn was one of the games Xbox originally promised would be out within 12 months of its showcase in 2022, and it is a game hitting Game Pass day one. Unfortunately, we won't be playing it at all this year. Here is a letter from developer A44 Games. We want to update our fans on the development of Flintlock, the Siege of Dawn. To make Flintlock the absolute best experience it can be at launch, we have made the decision to move the game's release to 2024. We've been hard at work crafting a unique and deeply detailed open world brimming with thrilling fights, rewarding exploration, and a true sense of discovery. It's important to our whole team that Flintlock is a special experience, and we owe it to ourselves and to all of you who have been following the game since we announced it to make it the most impressive and unforgettable game it can be. Your ongoing and unwavering support has been incredible. Each of us at A44 Games are humbled and inspired by your excitement for what we are creating, and we truly appreciate your patience. We have a lot of exciting things to show you, and we'll have updates for you soon, end quote. So, COG, another 2022 showcase game bites the dust here. We're going to see it in 2024. I'm still excited for this one. I thought what they showed last year looked really good. What do you think about this unfortunate delay?
Yeah, team delay. It's straightforward. But I will say that's why I don't give. I saw some slight pushback from some people on this recent Xbox game showcase. They didn't give any dates. They just gave the year. Learning experience. Learning experience. Don't call your own shot and give a date and you don't hit. So I'm okay with the year because it gives you flexibility on development. And I think, this is where, because examples of like Flintlock and on all those other titles, Redfall, whatever, the Starfield, showed that when you call it and you don't hit it, you got to get the smoke in the 12-month format. So look, take your time. Flintlock looked promising from what I remember. And it definitely had a little hashtag just one E type energy, even though it's not an Xbox game studio game. But take your time. Do what you got.
Absolutely. Yeah, it looked good. And the fact that it's day one Game Pass, that's like the beneficial kind of delay because it just stacks what Xbox, like they already did the investment probably. They already made the payment. So for them, it's just like this adds to whatever catalog we're getting that year from Game Pass day one. So delays are fortunate. We saw how it's playing out this year where something like Lies of P is falling in line with other stuff that they've invested in, like Persona. So it's really cool. And obviously, team delay. Let's just get the best possible game out the door.
Absolutely.
Ghostwire Tokyo, 5 million players, sir. Love to see that. The game looks awesome.
I love it, man. Shout out to Tango. And plays really well on the Ally. Plays really well on the Ally. Yes, I'm so proud of them. I want a sequel for that game. I think the foundation is really good. And it's unique. Love that game.
Yeah, so congrats to Tango on all their recent success, really rising up the ladder for many Xbox fans. And I imagine there's a lot of anticipation for what they bring us next. Remedy has stated that Alan Wake 2 will be over 20 hours long. It's kind of surprising. I remember the first Alan Wake game was just like south of 10. And I don't know how long Control was, though, so maybe this shouldn't be as surprising. Quantum Break was around like 12 to 15, maybe. Give or take. So this is a pretty meaty one. And from what I've seen, like I watched my Jake Baldino's video on it. He said it's very, I love Jake. That's and he was mentioning that is not very unafraid to kind of get into those Resident Evil like areas. So I'm very excited for this one. I think it looks so good. It's coming out at the perfect time, October. Like they could not have picked a better release date. So really pumped to see what Sam Lake and the team have been cooking over at Remedy. But 20 plus hours, Cog, your thoughts?
Yeah, looks good. I loved everything I've seen from the demo so far. This is the one. So, people were waiting for this a while. I could see, 20. Let's go. Yeah, this is a classic. I can't wait to speak to Rand. He's such an Alan Wake guy. Like there's certain people I associate with games. Like a lot of the Elder Scrolls stuff, and Attic, I associate a lot of Fable and a lot of Final Fantasy stuff. But Rand is like, I got to see if it gets his approval. Like there's certain people I got to go, yo, how you feeling? Did it do what it needed to do? And he will be the first person. Shout out to Rand Outdoor, man with the million. You get your sequel, man, October.
Yeah, he's getting a lot with it. So good for him, good for everyone else. Very excited. I cannot wait to play this one. We never got a chance to talk about this last week, so I thought we'd make things right this week when I'm going over the Ubisoft Forward. This is just me having a mental lapse, so apologies. Assassin's Creed Mirage. We saw gameplay for this, and I just wanted to get some thoughts on this, Cog, because it's going back to what we were talking about for a while based off the rumors, that old school sensibility. It's back in Baghdad as it had been reported. There was one moment that kind of turned me off a little bit where I saw some supernatural teleporting assassinations. I'm like, what the hell is this, Ubisoft? I was like, you had everything everything. You even added a damn filter to mimic some of the desaturation that we saw in AC1. You had everything. And then I just see this teleportation assassination. I'm like, oh, God, man. You just couldn't help yourself. After everyone was saying classic vibes, there's just that in the middle. We'll see how it pans out. I'll stay open-minded to it because otherwise, I thought it looks really good. I thought the parkour looked solid. I thought the focus on creative tools you could use was great. It's been long enough time where we've been able to miss Assassin's Creed, in my opinion, especially with this one being more condensed compared to Valhalla, one of the bigger Assassin's Creed games. I was pretty pleased with what I saw, sir. So did you, as someone who was really championing the more old school Assassin's Creed, did you like what you saw with Mirage?
Yes. Now I'm back. I've been boycott. I've been a solid boycott of Assassin's Creed. I'm not. Listen, I played
even Odyssey.
Because look, it's good.
Love Odyssey.
It's good. I'm not saying it's trash.
I know.
It's just not my Assassin's Creed. That is an action game masquerading as. But don't get me wrong, that one was fire. And what's her homegirl Cassandra, I believe. Look, I even like. So good. There's night and difference between the male voice act. No disrespect. Yeah, like night and day. And then even I did like the one, what's my man, from Egypt. They took it back to the pyramids, to the essence, But to me, these games, what happened was I was just in a rebellious state. I was like, I was going through what you went through with Arkane. I was like, this ain't y'all. Y'all catching the wave. Like the way you was feeling about Deathloop is the way I was feeling. I was like, bro, that's not my assassin. I said, all right, y'all fooled the masses. This is what y'all want to go. Okay, cool. Y'all getting bread. I understand. But I grew up with the murk and murder, sitting on a bench, getting information on my target, scheming. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where you just can't go with a direct confrontation. All right, guys, swords out. I'm fighting everybody. No, you got to be crafty with it. You got to be stealthy with it. And that's what I'm talking about. True investigative, true ninja-ism, stealth-ism. That's Assassin's Creed to me. So this, I know they got a little supernatural that Matty didn't like. But, I'm okay, and I like the setting. We don't get to know no Baghdad. Like, I want to know what's bombs on Baghdad. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. So I'm trying not to get too hyped because they've been hurt by them a lot, but I am cautiously optimistic and gaining more confidence each time that this may be the way that they found their way back to who they are. I was around for the first debut trailer of Assassin's Creed 1, and I was blown away. I was like, yo, they in Jerusalem, they out here murdering. What is this? This is crazy. Like, I loved every, aspect of it, minus the anime stuff. It's okay. But, what I'm saying? I like the game. So yeah, this seems like it's coming home for COG. Yeah. Oh, the old heads rejoice.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, it definitely looks like a great return to form, and hopefully kind of kickstarts Ubisoft down this proper path of more condensed experiences. I feel like the worst thing that happened to this series was Unity, and not in the way that people think. I think that was the future of the franchise. I mean, that game is still so impressive to me. Still, like, I recommend people boot it up. Like, outside of the mess of icons all over the open world map, that's gross. But otherwise, like the crowds, the multiple ways to assassinate your targets, some of the light RPG elements, like that was the future. And it was so destructively buggy, which is on Ubisoft's hands, that they just ran the other way. They had to change things. If that game was a success, though, I really wonder where that company ends up, because if it was a smash hit, I think we would not be concerned about Assassin's Creed moving forward at all. I really got to say that had a tremendous impact on them, because that was also, they were hiding Rogue. I remember reviewing both these games, and they gave us AC Unity really early, and then Rogue they gave us early as well, and they had the embargo 12 hours after release because they thought it was going to get destroyed. People were like, no, this is fire too. And so they just had a complete fuck up on what they thought was going to do well with press and what was going to review well and dictate the future of the franchise and what they thought they should hide away. People were like, yo, I get to play as a Templar? Like, this is amazing. So it's just that part in their history, I think, was a major inflection point for them. Truly.
Oh, absolutely. That game is very special to me because Assassin's Creed Unity, the way you love it is the way Attic loved it. And literally that's the start of our friendship because it was around that time I met him. And it was right around that time that, he was championing the game so hard. We had a self-bet with each other. Okay, you play my favorite game, I play your favorite game, and we see, and bro, Unity was fire. And obviously, I indoctrinated him into Destiny. You know what I'm saying? But that was like, he used to go hard for Unity. And yeah, that game was dope. It was just the technical issues at the time. It was like framey. That's really all the issue was. But the game on itself, at its core, was dope.
So good. The murder mysteries too, so good, man. I just wish it succeeded, but nonetheless, great game to go back to if anyone's curious. Last little bit of news, we'll talk about what games we're playing here. Persona 3 Reload, we got more on this one. It has all of the modern series elements, apparently, including no fatigue/tiredness, and characters will have individual Persona elements. Every social link will be fully voiced, and missing social links are now side quests. I'll explain what that means in a moment. Party members are going to be fully controlled by the player. Tartarus is the same, but they added dialogue and breakable objects to spice it up. And you can max all social links in one playthrough now. This was through an interview with Famitsu. A lot of good here, a lot of bad here. All voiced, great. Tartarus being the same, bad. Tartarus is really... people about to learn about Tartarus. A lot of people about to learn about... It's 200 plus floors in a dungeon that, at least in its original state, was just like... Each floor was just slightly reoriented. And they seem to have more of a distinct visual style per the blocks. They're split up into blocks. I think the clear pathway here for a remake especially was to take the palaces from Persona 5, like that kind of structure, and just make the blocks palaces instead. I think that just made way more sense. But they've went this scaling the tower route. People are going to hate this, no doubt about it. There's nothing good about Tartarus as far as I'm concerned. It may be more tolerable with more modern series sensibilities. You have to remember when all of us played Persona 3 and went through Tartarus, this was with old Persona, where it was a blessing to be able to even choose your own party members' attacks, for example, where enemies were actually hitting like a bus. So there is that. Now, they mentioned missing social links are now side quests. Right now, and it's been confirmed, it's only the male main character. Now with Persona 4 and 5 and 5 Royal, you see that you can hang out with guys and girls and whatever. But in Persona 3, if you were a dude, you only got to hang out with mostly women. And if you were in the Persona 3 protagonist where you could play as the female, you could hang out with the dudes and get their social links. Since Reload has put itself in a corner and they're like, yeah, we're only playing as the dude, people were like, well, what about Junpei? What about Akihiko? Like, what about their social links? And so now they're saying they're going to be side quests, which I'm very interested to see how they handle that and why they're even labeled this way. So for those who are curious about that, that's why they're doing it this way. It's just, this remake's just giving me that kind of like weird energy. I'm just like, there's so many obvious things again that like, you just didn't get right, clearly, off the get-go.
Help me if I'm wrong. The male protagonist is in it, and then they have social links with the female characters, correct?
Correct.
Now, the female character is not in it, that's not fully voiced at all. That
she's just not in the game at all. They never,
So the original, help me understand, the original core game had a male and female that you chose between?
No. Original game had a male. Persona 3 Portable had the male and female. This is what I talked about with the grand unifier.
The lore of this game. Like, this is so much.
So just to put it simply, Persona 3 on PS2, think of it like Persona 4 in a different setting, just to put it simply, right? 3D, running around, Tartarus, social links, everything I've set up for you. Then there was FES. Think of that like Persona 3's Persona 5 Royal, Persona 3's Persona 4 Gold, like the subsequent thing that adds content. So they added an epilogue called The Answer, some social links, some requests, a number of other things there. Aigis' social link being a very important one. And then that was it. Then the PSP comes around and they made pretty much a visual novel version of Persona 3 called Persona 3 Portable. The main change there was a new soundtrack with the female protagonist being added. And the female protagonist could now hang out with the male characters, get their social links, and also some things with the ending would or leading into the ending would be different. and you could control party members in this one. So that's why I talked about the grand unifier being so needed. It's like each version has quality stuff and major detractions. So all Atlas had to do was just line them up. What's good about each of these games? Put that in the remake. That's all they had to do.
I wonder why they chose not to use the PSP version.
I know they couldn't use the PSP version in the sense that, like, building off of that. I get that because it was a complete, like, in Persona 3 and 3 FES, you'll run around in a 3D space. In Portable, you'll see the sprite of your character on the right side of the screen, and you just have a cursor. It's like a point and click adventure.
Point and click. Okay, got it. It's probably a technical issue. Okay.
Yeah. But just the fact that they didn't like add this in,
I know,
something like that, very strange. Yeah. It was the type of game that I think deserved the extra mile, and I find it frustrating because I think Persona 3 can be the best Persona game of them all. I truly think it could be, but this just shows me even this remake is like, nope, you're still gonna probably be second fiddle. We'll see, but there's just so many key things that they've already confirmed. Like, nah, it's not gonna be there. It's not gonna be there. That's like, what? Like, where did you guys do research for this project before starting? Like, I got to ask. I'm like, what was the thought process? Truly, because you missed so much obvious stuff beyond just like, hey, we're making something here. How do we make it the best we can? Oh, we should probably pull the positive elements together. But you just got to go on one forum, one Reddit post, and you will literally find what everyone's asking for. But this is why people, Atlas is a great partner for Xbox, but people always say, and I say it too, Atlas be doing Atlas things.
That's what Soft says all the time.
Atlas be doing Atlas things, man. Yeah. And this is an Atlas-ass moment right here. They're just like, Atlas. We're remaking the one that needs the remake, and we fucking left everything out that you needed in this remake. How do you like them apples? It's like they're joking with you. And my only hope is that Reload Part 2 or whatever they call it, like Reload Again, and they do a royal version of Reload, which would be holy crap. That'd be a mess. That would be a I think they're going to do it.
Give you their playback. They give you the playback. This is the company that makes royale of stuff, and all these people. They to me, they are milking it, and they know we gonna buy it. And they give it a playback. I think you answered your own question. I think that's what they're doing. Because, it makes no sense. They know it. If it's on the forums and everyone's recording, they know it.
Sorry. I just want to go sit in a corner and cry over that one. But I'm not going to. We got to talk about what games we are playing right now. I don't have much to add this week. I'm just now at the tail end of Diablo 4. Reason I didn't finish that, I'm reviewing 2 games right now. Unfortunately, I will not be able to talk about them until next week when the embargo properly lifts. And I got bars, y'all. I got bars. I just some of these games this year, man. Cog, please go ahead. Oh, you're muted right now.
Oh, sorry. I said, oh, no. I was like, I feel bad. I guess I'll start off then. So, obviously this is not Xbox related, but I would be remiss to talk about it because I'm such a Final Fantasy guy. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I'm a 7 guy. Everybody knows me as a 7 guy. You know what I mean? And Remake is touching the heartstrings for me on so many levels, and Rebirth. But it's been a while since I touched a new Final Fantasy mainline, because I looked at your man Noctis with the car and all that, the homies. I'm like, all right, could be cool.
I feel like you would love the vibe of that game. On just a side
I think so too. A part of me, but if you remember, and me and King was talking about it, this was during the PlayStation 4 Xbox technical issue, 1080p ain't being happening over here.
Yeah,
it was a lot of bad energy on Xbox ports at that time. And they were clearly losing the power narrative. And I believe the Pro came out, and it just came out at a bad time. But I did have interest. And shout out to Noctis in Tekken 7, because he's amazing.
Yeah, I do remember going back and playing that. Yeah.
Ooh, Noctis is nice in that. But so look at that. In this one, obviously everything we see in the PlayStation showcases, I'm like, look, I'm sold. The game looks great. I'm sold. But until I played it, I said, well, let me play this demo. Let me just, because Matty, you set it up last, and you were like, yo, people need to play it. And I agree. Like, this for me, again, we got to see how the game is going to play. But I'm just talking about the demo, right? You know, as a person who haven't played another main line in a little while, I like the maturity. Everything's very lordly. Everything was very, you know, Game of Thronesy. Everything was, Matty, I just think this is why they got they got human weapons of mass destruction called the Dominants. Yo, the East, they gotta dominate. They're trying to compete in this arms race with us, but our dominant is why they call dominant that? It's the funniest thing ever to me. Like, yo, who got the dominance? Yo? Like, so to me, I'm like, all right. And then, you know, the way it started off, you're learning about Clive, the main protagonist. And I'm not going to spoil, but like, you know, this is a beautiful looking game. This is a really pretty looking game. And, you know, granted, performance mode, oh boy. Got some not the nicest things to say there. It's all over the I don't know if it's doing 60, but word just came out now that performance mode is 720p at 10.
Wow.
Yeah, bro, 720p at 10. We're gonna talk about these consoles. We just gotta be real. Like, they're not, when it's coming to hit next generation only games. See, when they were doing PS4 and Xbox games, you know what I'm saying? You know, we was getting our 60, our 4K.
Yeah.
But as soon as cross-gen is out, we starting to see things. And I'm starting to see, and I'm like, yeah, to the point where people are like, yo, I'm gonna have to throw this on 30 because it's just all over the place. But anyway, back to the game. Game looks good. You know, I will say this is, from a story perspective, I was really impressed. And the only negative I'm going to say, combat, I'm not so.
You too, huh?
I'm with you. I think you nailed it, Matty. Like, I'm a Final Fantasy VII remake, pick my stuff. You know, you got your little freeze frame, I pick. And it feels more turn-based, fake, tactical. Okay, Barrett, you do that. You know, this, that. This is Clive. Go ahead, Clive. Devil May Cry. Go ahead. Just shoot, blast. And, you know, and I'm like, all right, but like, like that staggered. I know that the LSM community talked about that. It just felt like I was hitting the balls all day. Like, bro, when are you gonna stagger so I could get off? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, I didn't have that. Like, Final Fantasy VII Remake is just dynamic. And it's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
really appreciate that game even more.
Yeah. So if I had to nitpick, cogs down. I don't have the full joint yet, but I got to see how this combat evolves. I don't know if I'm sold, because shout out to Gene Park, who has a great article right now, LSM fam, who talked about it. He's like, it's more Devil May Cry than it is. His review is out right now. So I will say that, but I will say this. This demo is one of the most heartfelt, without spoiling. Bro, I said, I know y'all ain't going to end this demo like this. Like, you want to talk about sex, money, and murder, and without spoiling, like, brutality, like, bro, I'm like, not like this. I'm like, not. And they knew they had me, because as soon as I was like, yeah, the pre-order is up right now. You want to play? You want to get in there? I said, damn it, it's not going down like this. I got to get this. This is a great demo for how to sell something that you were on the fence about. So they got me off this demo off top. I'm all the way in.
Very convincing demo, yeah.
Yeah, so shout out to Clive and the team. We got to see how it goes. Only bring this up. I hope Xbox gets this at some point. I doubt it. The way Square moving, we'll see if there's truly a year's exclusivity or it's extended into the ether forever. You know what I'm saying, kind of thing. But shout out to Final Fantasy. I just like that this ain't your, you know what I'm saying? This ain't your daddy's Final Fantasy. This is. We murdering now. It's going down. When I saw the sex scene in the beginning with the dominant and the chicken, he grabbed her here before we go battle. Come over here and warm me up.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Yeah,
I was like, Final, what are we doing, Final? Hold on. So I just like that we here now. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was. So salute to them. Played that. Obviously, Diablo 4 still going on my ally, very good settings, rocking and rolling. So, yeah, man, I still love it. I'm just basically doing all my social requests. I had to redo my whole build though. Got a way better build now. Nice. That is very Frost oriented. Like, I'm all about Team Frost. You know what I'm saying? Got maybe one or two lightning things in there. Got my ultimate. I'm still rocking and rolling. And then the last thing I'll say is, you know, now it's been a week. The ROG Ally. And you see these storefronts right here. This is why I love this device. Steam, Battle.net, Xbox, Epic Game. I can play where I want. And guess what game this is? You see this little logo right here?
I thought I saw it, but I was like, let me see if he calls attention to it.
Bro, Persona 5 on this device is God tier. Like, bro, 1080p 60, moving spectacularly. I'm out here getting and the sound. Oh my God, the sound is amazing. Dolby Atmos this is Xbox here. I don't care what this is for me. I'm playing local, and remember, COG is the offline guy. So word tips: if you get your Ally, you have to in Windows. Remember, this is a Windows device first. It's a little jank. Once you get past the jank of Windows, but when it comes to the playing of games, not Steam Deck. I'm sorry, I play Cyberpunk on Steam Deck all the time. I play all these. It's not even close. Whoa. It's not, bro. It's not even close.
Right
like
words.
You play Forza Horizon 5 on this, bro. It is literally like I got a Series X version in the crib, in my hand. It is glorious. Cyberpunk, 60 frames per second, enemy density. Bro? It's not even close. Like, you want to showcase the power of the Ally? Put those games on. And for people, I will say, just go this right. PC Game Pass, come to the front of the congregation. We got to talk. You can't be having these old school whack, like, look, let me just give you an example. This is unacceptable. I'm on a storefront. Where are all my games? Why are my games listed in this whack corner? I got to scroll down this long list of games. Like, no, PC Game Pass. If you are going to be taken seriously, you need to have a proper UI and a proper storefront. So please get it together, because people are going to get on this device. Hopefully Microsoft, and they continue to work with AMD and stuff like that. But I love the device. It's fantastic. I would just say, if you're an offline guy like me, put Windows in offline mode. Make sure you play the game online first. Just so it registers your account, you log in, then you put it in airplane mode. Make sure you log into every game individually one time, just so that it saved the data local to the device. After you do that one time, you could free to play offline. Now, some games you're getting exposed. Ghostwire Tokyo, why does Bethesda have some online component in this game where I can't play it offline?
Really?
You come into the front of the congregation. Plague Tale, no, you're looking good, Plague Tale. The only ones I want to get is Ghostwire Tokyo, Forza Horizon. That fix, you have to take off Horizon mode off, put it in the offline when you don't play with the Dravatars. You can play offline. There's only like a couple to just find out which ones, but other than that, fantastic. And obviously, if it's an online only game, Diablo, Destiny, you ain't playing that offline anyway. So that makes sense. But love this device. This is truly the Xbox handheld for me, and I can't wait, man. I'm excited. So that's a weekend. Like I said, a little rough edges here and there, but for the most part, thumbs up. And in the infancy stages, the software will get better.
Yeah, I'm curious for me if it leapfrogs. Mine should be in the mail soon. I'm curious if it leapfrogs the Logitech G Cloud for me. That's been like my go-to.
That's nice.
That's been my go-to, man. That thing has been really, really good to me. And especially during review periods, it lets me just crank in game hours in like different settings. So it's been really nice. And so this sounds like exactly what I'm looking for. It's the battery life that I'm very.
Oh yeah, that battery life is
not great.
Oh God, that battery. Listen, you better have a battery pack, because if you intend to do your 1080, your 60 or 120 hertz, bro, you're gonna fly through this thing in 2 hours. You're gonna watch your battery go so fast.
Wow.
So highly advised.
You got to give it some travel reps, I feel.
Yeah, I got to put, basically I'm in travel prep mode to see what works, what doesn't, and offline. But yes, but I could already tell the battery life is terrible. It's Steam Deck is bad. This is probably just as bad, and not a little bit worse, because it's so powerful. The screen is so vibrant, and you can do little things to try to get more power out. You know what I mean? To extend it a little bit. But I do feel like the next generation of this, bro, you have to solve. You got to give us at least 3 to 4. Like 2, bro, it's too little. So battery life is definitely a big thing. So I have some battery packs for you guys to invest in, so you could be playing nonstop without interruption.
Well, there you have it. That's what we're playing this week. Cog, thank you for carrying hard this week. I appreciate it.
Are you good?
Got a couple of warm-up questions, and we'll get into the news. We'll start with number 1 from Jacob Martin. Greetings, Dukes. There's been talk and frustration regarding games releasing early at a higher cost, while game journalists seem to miss reporting on poor launch performance. Here's my question. Could Starfield's Premium Edition, with its 5-day early access, actually provide a valuable opportunity for the public to get more genuine feedback on performance? Considering concerns about locked 30 FPS, is this early launch a potential advantage for unbiased performance reviews? Thanks for your awesome content, energy you bring to the conversation every week. Thank you, Jacob. We appreciate you. Cog, are you seeing this as a potential workaround for people who fail, like Mr. Matty, at the review process of getting the technical aspects of the game right per SKU, per rig? Do you see Starfield's early access being that solution? Or is it just Microsoft being coy and understanding, there's money to be made. Here you go. $100, please.
Corporate cog agrees. Like, it's money to be made. And I listen, it's very noble of you, Jacob Martin, to think that, this would be an opportunity for, potential unbiased reviews. But I just think when we get it 5 days early, the bigger outlets are going to get it earlier than that. That's how I feel. So, especially with a game of that nature, unless they intend to hide something, that's what you always worry about. But I just think it's my gut tells me that you'll have the advantages over the homies, so you could tell them, yo, this is the real, this is what's going on, to your immediate circle. But I still feel that there's going to be outlets that's going to get it. They're going to have their thoughts on the Starfield experience. So it's just money, man. Like it's just as simple as that. It is we got the games. This is gonna be a theme of this show. We got the games. Mm-hmm. Now you're gonna pay this bread. Now you're gonna come up off that wallet if you really want it. But you can hold out because we got Game Pass. If you don't have to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Realistically, my content creator brain went to one area. When I saw the early access at the September 1st, I was like, that means review codes need to be out in August, which is crazy to think about. And if they do some type of event like Redfall, that's got to be about a couple weeks from now. It's coming together fast. So we'll see. By the way, have heard nothing on that, but point being, like, it's going to sneak up on us real quickly here with this game. And I'm going to be honest, Jacob, I think this is one of those situations. I like your idea, but I just feel with Starfield, there's so much hype behind it that most people will have their pre-orders locked in and it will be too late, especially for Game Pass subscribers. They're like $35 and I get to play 5 days early. Hell yeah. I'm going to do that. So unfortunately, Jacob, I think not. It's up to shitty reviewers like me to just get the job done right.
Oh, stop. One of the best.
Elon Chan's our next write-in. Hi, gents. A thought occurred to me while listening to the boys on Sacred Symbols last night that PlayStation and Xbox's game development focus seems to me in opposition to the business models they're pursuing. I would think that a more subscription-based service might pursue more live service games and fewer a la carte games, and the inverse for a company avoiding a subscription model and wanting to market premium games. Am I mad? Are the platform holders mad? P.S. I bought a Series X 2 years ago in anticipation of Starfield, and I'm so ready to venture forth with it when it launches. Proof that Starfield is a system seller? Here's to delaying a game until it's ready. Thank you, Elon Chan, for writing in. Cog, I know we kind of circled around to this, but I really appreciate this perspective. By the way, for at least my personal record, I don't really listen to Sacred Symbols, so I don't know exactly what they said. But, when I saw this, I thought that it's a really good point. But I think talking about where PlayStation is honestly more important because we kind of cover where Xbox is at, and we'll still circle back into that. But with PlayStation, I think a lot of their live service push isn't actually in opposition with what they're trying to do. I think it's perfectly in line with it because they're trying to maintain what brings a lot of people to their platform, which is as Cog would say, the just one experience, right? And those are selling extremely well, but you can kind of support more just ones, maybe of the newer IP, of the experimental nature. Your Ghost of Tsushima is like, this is different for Sucker Punch, right? You could just have them just one it up with Infamous, but they get to go and do Ghost of Tsushima, right? And I think that's why they're going live service, where it's right in the direction they want to be. I just think, and Cog said the same thing, so kudos to him, going to be a lot of like teething problems with it. Like, I think they're going to really I mean, it's the nature of live service games. You don't get it right the first time. Patches, updates, bugs, glitches, balance problems, server issues. This is all going to be new to PlayStation, and even developers who are experienced have these types of problems. So there's going to be growing pains, no doubt about it. Where Xbox, again, I feel like it's kind of in line where they need quarterly games. They've made it clear, like we need multiple games from first party or publishing partners every quarter or at least multiple times a year. And that's going to support their service. They understand that probably through experimentation with a lot of like Back for Blood and a lot of these other live servicey style games that they've invested in outside of their own ecosystem, that they're probably not getting the sustained bump. I don't think they're just getting something like Persona 3 Reload strictly because it looks good. I think there's got to be data that suggests this is, maybe that's a bad example, actually. You see you making that face made me think maybe that's a bad example. But I don't think they're just going for single player like a Wo Long just because it looks good. I think it's because they see that there's a more tangible bump there, and perhaps that a quality-oriented focus will beget more subscribers. So I actually think it's perspective here. And to me, both their initiatives are kind of in line with where they want to end up. They're just going about it extremely different ways. So, Cog, what do you think about Elon Chan and what they had to write in?
Yeah, as far as the opposition to the business models they're pursuing, I will give credit on the Xbox side. Historically, for a subscription based service, right? The single player games were the concern, right? Because it's like, we were hearing rumblings like, hey, why don't you add a co-op mode or a co-op, I'm saying, a live service mode, because that, that type of engagement with live service or co-op really is beneficial to a subscription based service. But I think Starfield may show a lot of people, the true benefits of it, because again, single player game, and the fact that we're seeing now this type of energy towards it for the Xbox community and people who are on the fence, who are literally like, I am going to buy an Xbox for this. There's no way I'm missing out on this experience, or thus I'm going to subscribe to the service, right? So I think there is benefit. And then the flip side is that, again, pre-acquisition, we always talk about Bethesda pre-acquisition, they just were in position to continue to make those type of games and be able to support themselves. So being in this type of ecosystem that allows Obsidian to make a Pentiment and an Outer Worlds, and you know what I'm saying? Like, these probably would not have happened if this model of Game Pass that Xbox has and they acquire them doesn't exist. And to the Sony side, which we said earlier, which is just pretty much, they're going, look, they're going to, like you said, the teething stages, right? There's going to be some that are going to be misses. But if you hit with one, that can sustain all the hashtag just one stuff that they're doing. So people see the Fortnites, the Call of Duty, they see what look, Sony themselves said, how important Call of Duty was, right? We didn't get into the juicy details of that. But at the end of the day, that's what both are seeing. And I still think both are sound. I don't necessarily think they're in opposition to, to what they're trying to accomplish. I just think it's bigger picture, longevity, what we need to do to survive. We have to adapt on some levels.
Totally agree. Last write in here before we get into the full news roll here. RK128 with another little catch-up question. Hello, Inclusive Dukes. With the incoming release of Sonic Superstars, are you guys excited for it? It might have been lost in the shuffle with all the Xbox Showcase news you covered, but it looks great and seemingly will be just as polished as Mania thanks to the physics engine being used again. And with all that Sega love coming to Game Pass with Persona, do you think Sonic is the next franchise up? Have a Xbox sure has an expansive package kind of day. Oh.
I know what they're doing.
Messi here?
That's a messy coming from IOP. There's this silly joke about the new Series X in black with bigger packages. They're ridiculous. They are ridiculous right now. So I know what he's doing.
Yeah, what did you think as a Sega guy, Cog? What did you make of Sonic Superstars? More 2D. You could play as Amy, Tails. They showed, I forgot the name of this Sonic character, but it was a more obscure one. But what do you make of this kind of return to the Mania style Sonic game, the more Genesis style Sonic game? Does this speak to your soul, sir?
This is the bro. This is what I grew up. This is my side. I'm old. This is my side. No disrespect. You know what I'm saying? But this is I was in there just cheesing it up at the stage. I'm looking at it, I'm like, yo, this is for me. This is for me. They did it for me. I was like, yo, I am so in. Bro, it looks so good. And then they did the back and forth, like seeing Sonic do all this was mind-blowing to me as a kid. Mm-hmm. So I just love that 2D. I guess, not that I hate 3D, because 3D is dope. It is cool. And I get what you're saying, though. Yeah. It needs to go there. But it's kind of like how the Zelda fans feel with Link Awakening or whatever, that you need those guys, the top downs, they need that for them. So this was like perfect. It hit all the emotions. Oh, I'm so in there. And and if Microsoft and, I spoke to the Queen, Sarah Bond, she's a huge Sega fan. Queen is she is Team Sega. So, if y'all want to continue this relationship at this point, it would behoove you, to start throwing the Sonic catalog up in Game Pass and make it the home of Sonic. Well, you can, anytime you want, you can get some of that nostalgic feel and energy. And if you want to get that deal, maybe you don't do it on release. Maybe you do little Yakuza acts, right? Yeah. Get your money up front, get your multi-platinum, we'll let you rock. But then the patient folks, after 6 months to a year, you float on into the service and we get you like we got Yakuza. I'm with it. Sega, I'm with it. Get your money, but come home. Bro, that Sonic is for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what they're doing with the franchise. Like, I like that to offset a Frontiers, you get a Superstars. I think it's really important they keep doing that. And especially with the Mania team, many people think there hasn't been a great Sonic game. And I would understand why, with like Colors Remastered being kind of worked. And then, of course, Frontiers being hit or miss for people. A lot of people think that the last great Sonic game was Mania and one of the best ever made. So to have that team, like that engine in work on Superstars, I was very happy with what I saw. Like, I thought this looked like a ton of fun, especially it's going to sound unintelligent because they're like from the same era. And I know I'm going to sound like that younger gamer, but very much like Mario vibes in its level diversity. And like that, you saw them swimming underwater and doing all sorts of things. There was 3D environments at times. I was like, yeah, I like this, because my probably favorite Sonic game outside of Adventure 1 is Generations. And Generations is awesome because it's classic Sonic. So there's 2D stages and there's 3D, and it's like a highlight reel of pretty much all the popular stages. By the way, Sega, a community in tune with, or I'm sorry, a developer in tune with their community that listened very closely and said, oh, you like these stages, right? Oh, okay, we're going to put those in this game. Atlas. But anyway, point being is that was, to me, like my personal favorite. And to see them getting that kind of energy here with Sonic Superstars, very pleased with what I saw. I think, again, the multiple playable characters and the art style and the speed looks fun. I still struggle with 2D Sonic just because when you're going left to right so fast, I'm like, I don't know what's next. Like, why I like 3D Sonic is the camera twist, and I'm like, I see where I'm running, if I'm running into traffic or not. Like, that's what helps me out. So we'll see if I can adjust here, but I'll always gravitate towards 3D because I think it suits my skill sets, we'll say, better. Fair enough. But I am keen on this one. I am very excited, and I will be there day one. And for Game Pass, no, I don't think so. I think Sonic is too popular for Game Pass.
Too big.
I'm just seeing too many budding franchises making their way to Game Pass. Your 2 Point Hospital, Football Manager, Persona, Yakuza. No, but the Golden Child, he doesn't need the Game Pass bump. Maybe if Sega's trying to get a little efficient, like you mentioned, I'd say a year. I'd say a year, because probably with Sonic Frontiers release date and the showcase, probably would have seen it by now in Game Pass. So I think a year. But even then, maybe not, because it seems like the game's selling really well. They're very pleased with it. So do they need the Game Pass bag yet?
They got to wait for the back end money to start to slow down.
Yeah.
So you're probably right. A year plus. Once it really slows, they're still eating right now. So they good. You good.
Yeah. So I'm not expecting much on that front. Now let's get into the news, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items.
Jeez, they're busy, yo. It's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
we got a lot. We got a lot. Again, I'm going to have a problem with trying to label this episode because it's just like so much to go over here. But many of these could be the number one item, truly. But I wanted to start off with this interview with head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty, talked with Axios, and he discussed a number of things from 343 to Perfect Dark to Arkane Austin, and some of his answers mighty tantalizing, for better or for worse, depending on what company you work in. So let's get into it. 343 is the starting point. Matt Booty says, quote, I feel confident in the leadership team, but the team that got us here is probably not the same that's going to take us forward. The staff cuts were a byproduct of challenges across Microsoft and Xbox, but Booty says that the team's current smaller size matches where they are at in the production phase. He says that the core team behind the Master Chief Collection is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for Halo right now, and he had nothing to add on a new Halo game in development, but said that 343 will continue to work on Halo even though other outside studios may also get involved. Who may that be? Well, Axios did ask, could an Activision studio make a Halo game? Here's what Booty had to say, quote, if something like that were to happen, it would have to come from the studios. It's unlikely that we would come in and dictate that from the top, end quote. Meanwhile, on Perfect Dark, he says, I've played builds. I looked at it. I'm very excited for people to see what we're doing. It's a little bit more quiet there.
Mm-hmm.
However, Arkane Austin, a very, very interesting choice of words here, I think. He says, quote, Redfall is getting good play on Xbox Game Pass. It was a miss, but how much of a miss? I want to support them, being Arkane Austin, to be able to keep working to deliver the game they had in mind. When asked, will Arkane Austin remain open despite the recent flop from them, he said, quote, that is the plan right now. They are hard at work on updates and continued content for Redfall, end quote. Kai writes in, hey Dukes, so Matt Booty spoke recently saying there are no plans right now to close down Arkane Austin. Whilst that confirmation is great news, the pessimist in me can't help but worry. To talk about it so openly and to use the words right now indicates to me that the studio's closure is definitely in the cards. Obviously, Booty was responding to a direct question. He didn't just tweet it out, but his willingness to talk on it does make me think they might be preparing us for the worst. Am I too worried? How long do you think Arkane Austin will spend on the microscope? And what makes sense for that studio going forward? Thanks, boys. Cog, if you wouldn't mind, just like to leap right into this myself.
Yes, please. I'm dying to hear this.
Okay, it's two ways we look at this. And neither of these are going to be things that I think people want to hear, but as Cog would say, you need to hear. That said, I think with Xbox gobbling up a lot of studios, it's inevitable that they're going to size them up and knock them down, just like PlayStation had, restructuring them. I think it's inevitable that will be something that happens at one point or another. And it's going to be an ugly day when it does. I think right now, the worst that we've seen are major layoffs at 343, but Xbox gave them an extremely long leash. I think they understand optics-wise, it would be a really bad look to come in and start axing people at Arkane Austin so fresh after this acquisition. But that's part one of what I don't think people want to hear. Part two is this.
No.
Again, not advocating for any of this, just trying to do realistic commentary on what I'm seeing around me. First game you do, Prey. Really good game. You lose a ton of talent, apparently 70% of that talent, and it doesn't sell well. So, okay, you missed one. 6 years later, you come back around, missing most of that staff, thanks to this project. So you don't even have what you were acquired for. The game flops, let's be honest, because if he had a chance here to say, oh, it sold well, he would have taken it. Flopped commercially, critically, and it's not a service game, so there's not much legs. There wasn't much in there where it's like, oh, I can hold on to this and maybe it'll become something. It's unfortunately just a failure of a game. So now you've got two financial failures in a row that are pretty substantial. And one in particular was a catastrophic PR blast, partially set up by Xbox, by the way. There's a lot more that goes into it. We are skimming the surface here. I'm not saying, yeah, let's get rid of Arkane Austin. Of course I'm not. If you listen to any of my commentary on Arkane, you know I would not advocate for this. But I'm not shocked to see that he says for now or right now that's the plan. As in the door is open that may not always be the plan. Because to me that says, could be overanalyzing it. That's a fallback type statement. If it happens, I did say right now, look, I did say right now, reminds me a bit, and we'll get into it. One of these days, we can't keep these prices forever on Xbox Series consoles and Game Pass. And then here we are, a little bit more than half a year later, I think 8 months to be exact, and up they go. So I'm not saying this is Booty shooting the flare gun in the sky, like a little bit of a warning shot here, but I'm just reading the tea leaves on the business reality of Arkane Austin, who's had 2 flops in a row. I think they earn a third chance just by nature of like, okay, you're with Xbox. What can you do with these resources? But if 4, 5, 6 years from now they miss again, not advocating for it, but a lot of people misinterpret it. So I got to make it clear. I could see a fate where down they go. Because I just think that's inevitable in Xbox's future with everyone they're buying, that they are going to start looking at these teams and being like, do we need all of you? It's the same thing. Look at what's happening with THQ. Obviously, much more epic and massive in scale, but they have gobbled up so much that they have inevitably, as Colin rightfully predicted, started to chop parts of the business down. And when you're trying to feed Game Pass and someone's not feeding that mouth and they're doing the worst of the worst work, you save by losing, by cutting, by maybe restructuring. So those are my kind of thoughts to start off on Arkane Austin. There's much more to get into here, but Cog, of course, if you like to get into that more or leap in somewhere else, by all means.
We can start there. It is a very tough one because, on one hand, I do see, and I think we talked about it during the Redfall fiasco, like normally you put out something like this, like studios don't survive that kind of thing. And when we've seen the history, right? The Prey team, like the Dishonored team, like that talent is not there. Like what is Arkane Austin that we know it for the most part is not the same, right? So to me, what has to happen is you've come in right now, you're on your, public relations mode, get in there, do as much as you can to make this thing at least serviceable, 60 frames per second, and you want to probably forget about it as soon as possible, or whatever the roadmap said, because we were there, they talked about additional characters. We know additional characters are coming, right? Mm-hmm. But the 60 frames per second, you saw the first patch was all this AI stuff and the basic fundamentals to get it. So I see that on a base level, but my gut says they'll probably want to move around it. This is too much of a red stain, on the jacket, probably to keep investing on it. So to me, what has to happen is this. You have to have to sit down with Harvey and the team, right? And you have to say, okay, what are we doing? What are our goals? Because for Harvey, at the time, the way the Schreier and stuff pulled, people, when they found out that this was not going to be the traditional Prey and Dishonored, what we know them for, they were out, right? Mm-hmm. So we need to see where Harvey and leadership's heart is at right now. And we need to determine, are these the type of games that you want to make? What is the game that you want to make outside of financial ZeniMax problems withstanding? Because we are Xbox now, and we have brought the pipeline to you. We need to know where you at as a man with your game direction. That's what we got to find out. Once we decide that, then we can help you build out whatever. So I do think they get a shot. I do think they get it because it doesn't look good for Xbox to hatchet man them now, right? Evil Xbox come in now, cancel the thing. You know what I mean? It looks bad. You have to. They have owed a shot in the new regime. Now, if you fail in that, then we're gonna have to put you in the 343 box. And we're going to have to figure out where your future is with leadership and this team. But they do owe one more. So that's where I'm at with that. I do wanted to talk about the what you call it, the 343 section. Really
yes,
quickly,
absolutely. Let's go into it.
Yeah, which was, look, I think the line for me is that other people are going to get a shot. You know what I'm saying? I think that is what we've been preaching. Shout out to Chris Reagan. Every time we've done like a Duke Ultimate or whatever, it's like, yo, you have all these possibilities. Let's see what someone else can do in your universe. And that's when COG no longer gets disappointed that the main vein ain't going to have a narrative. Because if you do your spinoffs from other people that are quality, as long as they follow the Halo Bible that is 343, just follow the core lore, and the tenets that is Halo, but put your spin on it, I could see a revival in that sense, lore-wise. So I'm excited about that. You know what I mean? Other than that, kind of wait and see. The Activision thing was kind of funny, kind of thing. I would love to see people put their bid in. Hey, let's say like, id wants to say, hey, we got something in mind or whatever. I would love to see. To me, this is the cross collaboration because I do feel that with the 343 situation, it's time for other people to get a crack at stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm all about that. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And the Perfect Dark, to me, that just seems to still farther away. You know what I'm saying? God, that's the energy I got there. But I like that booty's outside. Pause.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like that too. I'm a fan that he's talking more. I think he needs to with the current position Xbox is in, and I'm happy to see it because it's usually just like, what did Phil say? And what did Sarah say? I think we need more from him. So it's good to hear from him. On 343, I think this is very much like an open message saying, if someone pitches, we're listening, which is exactly what we've been waiting to hear. It's just if someone's willing to. And some people seeing the backlash of Infinite may not be willing to, just being like, do I want to put myself in that line of fire? Also, if you're one of these Call of Duty sweatshop studios coming in, you're free from the reins of one franchise. Do you want to work under another? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Booty kind of nudges them like, hey, we got Halo. You interested in Halo? I respect that they're saying those orders don't come from top down. They seem very insistent on that. We got that vibe now from Fallout. We're hearing that with Halo. So it seems like they're very insistent on like, do what you want. Let's let you find your way. Or at least that's the appearance they want to keep. But I was happy to see that with what's going on with 343, I said, look, man, even if you want to restructure, build them up, let them take their time, all the right things, which I think they're in the process of doing, cool. It still can't just be them. And for him to say the words, I'm curious how you read that. He said, the team that got us here is probably not the same thing that's going to take us forward. Now, I think there's a number of ways you could look at that. It's that, hey, we made cuts. It's a different team now. So the team we had then isn't the one that's taking us, or is not the one taking us forward. Or was that kind of like a 343 got us here? It's not just them anymore. I just think there's a number of ways you can interpret that quote. Like it's got a double meaning to it.
I agree. I think there's it's duplicitous, and you can literally infer from that both ways, which is, current leadership, definitely. But I do think that expands into other studios and whatever. Like you said, they are in, we will listen to your pitch. If you have the desire, if you've ever had the desire to do something in the Halo universe, the choice is yours. Here's the LinkedIn post. You know what I'm saying? Let's see these applications, bro. Because look, as we've already said this ad nauseum, as stewards of that franchise, we saw the growing pains that they've had with it. So let's see some other people get a shot while they focus on core Halo Infinite and core gameplay fixing, not necessarily the expansion of the narrative part of that universe as of right now. They just seem to be doing, when you mentioned they're still working on Master Chief Collection and all that, to me, your focus is not on them doing the new stuff just yet. That's how I got at it. So that, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And then Perfect Dark, to hear it's playable is nice. That would be my bulk of feedback there. But based off what Booty had established for things that are being shown off and have playable builds, is that if it was shown off here, it's expected that within the next year or so, it's going to be out. So if Perfect Dark is playable now, it's probably not in the as playable state as some of the other things we saw, which means 2025, 26, as we had initially predicted. This is still a ways away.
Yes.
Let's move on to another hot topic here, Cog. Number 2. Much like PlayStation had done in 2022, Xbox is beginning to hike the prices of the Xbox Series X alongside Game Pass. For Defining Duke listeners, it should come as a little surprise given Phil Spencer hinted that the hardware, software, and subscription prices could not remain firm forever. That said, it doesn't make a welcome surprise either. In multiple regions, excluding US, Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Colombia, the prices shall change, while the Xbox Series S prices shall remain firm. Also remaining firm is PC Game Pass, which Xbox has made clear that they are trying to grow. The Xbox Series X will rise to £479.99 in the UK, €549.99 across a batch of European markets, $649.99 in Canada, $799.99 in Australia, and this is all beginning August 1st. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and Game Pass for console prices will jump a little earlier on July 6th. Current Xbox Game Pass subscribers will not be affected by these changes until August 13th or September 13th if you are in Germany. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate will move from $14.99 a month to $16.99 a month, or €14.99 euros, as well as £12.99. The base Xbox Game Pass for console pricing will also bump up a single dollar from $9.99 a month to $10.99 a month, or your regional equivalent. This marks the first change for the gaming subscription service in its price since 2017. According to Kerry Perez, head of communications for Xbox, quote, "We've held on our prices for consoles for many years and have adjusted the prices to reflect the competitive conditions in each market. These Game Pass price adjustments are not related to the Activision Blizzard deal and are intended just to match local market conditions," end quote. Austin Savard writes in, "Greetings, Dukes. With the recent news of price increases, is this bad timing considering that they just announced they want to increase production to make them more available? Having about to die, but the level up refills the health bar kind of day." That's very well put, Austin. Thank you for writing in. COG, it's here. It's only a little bit of a jump, but it's here. The price hike has arrived to some degree. Maybe a little asterisk next to it because it has yet to reach us here in the US, for example. But what do you make of this, COG? The timing couldn't be better. We're right ahead of a potential fast track to closing the ABK deal. We're right ahead of Starfield. We got games, baby, and now you got to pay for them. So your thoughts on this little jump to regions outside of, again, the United States, Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Colombia?
Look, in fairness to PlayStation, we got to give a little smoke because, you know what I'm saying? Like, people were really upset, you know, with the PlayStation thing. And in fairness, look, no one is out here advocating for, you know, price hikes. No one is sitting there like, yes, Xbox, do that. Do that. That's what we want to see. You know, I can corporate COG joke all I want, but the reality is no one wants that, right? So in fairness, Sony did it first. They got crucified, right? And now here comes Microsoft. Now Microsoft, in fairness, they've been hinting things can't stay forever. Things are gonna, you know, move up. And the Dukes called this. Like, this is no surprise. Like, the Dukes were on, like, bro, you're not paying that price. And we all said, as soon as them games hit, you about to get it. Well, we ain't got no games. We got games now. So here it is. Here it is. Get down and lay down.
Spike to the CMA. Like, yeah, we're gonna bump it in your region.
Oh yeah. And it's interesting because the timing is before, you know what I'm saying, the Blizzard deal. So, you know, you rip the Band-Aid off now, where positively it's at its highest about the future of the brand from a gamer perspective. And then you raise it now. Again, this is not, I will speak as corporate COG now. You raise it now because if you're able to get through the politics of this ABK stuff, one of the key things for the EU that helped them get through is that you will not raise it during the Activision of Call of Duty and Activision Blizzard King. So they got it. They try to get their bread now. And then the other thing is, in fairness, inflation. We know inflation is real and microeconomics and all this other stuff. We understand that. No gamer wants to hear that. No one cares. They feel like, because the gamer is like, yo, you're making the most money you've ever made. So we really don't want to hear none of this stuff you talking about.
Yeah, little Phil Spencer flex is hitting a little different now, where he's like, yeah, I know you guys like to harken back to the 360 days, but we're making the most money we ever have now. I was like, okay.
That's what
why
we heard.
Are my prices going up then, dude?
Right. Why is the price of the brick going up? Why? Yesterday's price is clearly not today's price. We see what's going on. So look, I'm not going to cap for a corporation in that respect. I understand why they're doing it. But, it's unfortunate for those regions, right? It's unfortunate for those regions now that the game, Xbox is really starting to try to get their footing. And now it's like, you have to pay this more bread now. That, is unfortunate. But yeah, this is sadly nothing I'm surprised about because we literally said this was going to happen. The key was when, and now we know the when.
Yeah, dude, this is going right down to how we scripted it out. Like right when they started to deliver games. Imagine this in a pre-showcase world where we just had Redfall. I mean, you got to give credit to the timing of it all. We've said that they've just had bad news in their back pocket that they've just been waiting to roll out at the right time. And here's why they did it. I mean, the conversation online hasn't been disrupted at all. It's still about Starfield. It's still about Avowed, Fable, from what I'm reading. Like, no one's really insists. I mean, it helps that the price hike hasn't been gigantic, but it just goes to show, and I'm not applauding this by any means. I'll get into why it sucks, of course, but it goes to show that the supplemental news pieces can sometimes make the whole story. PlayStation was getting killed for a number of reasons, and then they come out with this price hike afterwards, right? After the $10 upgrades and whatnot, the shitty PC ports and all this stuff that we're seeing from them. And they're like, yeah, pay us a little bit more now. People are like, what are you out of your mind? We're here with Xbox. You show Starfield. You show the promise of the class of 2018. People are like, oh, it's just $1. I don't mind that at all. Sure, you can have that. It just shows the massive difference in when you time your bad news with your good news. Same thing with the 30 FPS. If we heard 30 FPS, I still think hearing Starfield 30 FPS leading into the showcase wouldn't have been the massive pin in the hype balloon. But there's no denying that seeing all of that magnificence first and then hearing it afterwards was beneficial to them. They've learned a lot with communication this year, I think, and it's showing. It's showing
really quickly. And I told when we did the prediction with the Xbox 2, I told people like, yo, they gotta get out in front of it. I said they are not gonna do it on no developer direct stage and say, yeah, it's 30. You're not doing because that's gonna suck the air right out. Marketing 101. Yeah. I predicted. I said blog post or later interview, right? And then it came out. I knew they wasn't going to put, because if it was 30, they not telling you that will suck the air right out the building. You only say it when you have positive news. If we would have got to 60, we'd have got to 60 right then and there. And they were using them filmic terms and all. I was like, I know this.
There were some hints there for sure. But is it disappointing? Of course. It sucks to see the prices go up. I noticed key things they're trying to expand in remained firm.
Yeah, certain community seems
Japan,
unaffected.
You're all good. PC, you're all good.
Most growth in the PC area. Corporate cognote is corporate cognote.
And it's just very obvious where they're trying to not stagnate growth quite yet, as well as their main user base, which is the United States, because they need us to then go outward. And then eventually they'll catch up to us, no doubt about it. So if you're here in the States, don't worry, your wallet will be gouged soon as well. But a lot of regions seeing a price hike. It sucks. I especially feel Australia, man.
Australia getting that work. Shout out to my homies out there.
Let's money, bro.
Skill up in them. Damn.
I know. But can't say we're surprised at this, but disappointing nonetheless. And this is where the pressure rises, right? We talked about this with the $70 games. The energy here is the same. You can't be having the Redfall energy. This was pre-Redfall. We had the conversation about $70 games, and we said, okay, feel free to charge us that. Deliver the quality. No one's going to care to a certain extent about the price of your services or boxes if you decide to respect us and give us good products. If you give us more Redfalls, you already know what's going south. Like I don't got to spell that one out. So just a word of warning to Microsoft.
Absolutely.
All right, Cog, this one I thought of you right away. Microsoft has said they are moving on to Gen 9, aka the Series consoles, and that no internal teams are working on games for older gen consoles outside of support for ongoing games such as Minecraft. NeoJD writes in, fellas, now that Xbox is officially done with the Xbox One generation, what was your favorite game that appeared on that console? For me, it'd be Gears 5. Thanks, and have a Kojima isn't directing the Death Stranding movie. What kind of shenanigans is this kind of day? Cog. Xbox One is over.
Wow.
And long live the series performance problems now, because they're going to come in spades as we're dropping last gen, cross-gen support. So get ready for that. A little bit of excitement, because I feel like games such as Starfield finally give us that taste of what next gen will actually be, what it can provide for those who buckle down. So I'm excited for that. Of course, if you have any thoughts on this news, fire away. But otherwise, we can get right into NeoJD's question.
Yeah. Look, it's time, right? They officially said it, no more support for Xbox One. From a technical standpoint, you like it because it's like, okay, now we could try to get to the metal of the hallway without having to support the last generation. I will push back on one thing, though, that I'm noticing. And, we talked about Final Fantasy 16. We're talking about, Starfield at 30. And what I'm noticing, and I hope this trend does not, that I'm noticing I'm proven wrong, but right now I'm a little concerned, is that these consoles, now that the past generation is removed, because remember when past generation was there, 4K 60, we're up in there, you know what I'm saying? But now that it's on this new tech, starting to see the struggles, starting to see maybe you're not hitting it consistently. And I'm very curious moving forward with the first party games that are next generation only, and even third party games that are next generation only. We're starting to see, Jedi Survivor have, a little chuggy chug. Like, we're starting to see things. And again, maybe I'm overacting. Maybe it's still in the infancy stages, and maybe these buzzwords that we heard for all these years, the technical buzzwords, will start to show their head. But that's my only thing. How often are we going to see 4K 60 or at least 1080p 60? So keep an eye on that. To JD's question, as far as like, damn, that's hard for like the best Xbox. It was a rough generation.
I mean, at least the list is small, so it's a pretty easy exclusive pick here. I feel
Gears did kind of hold it down. It wasn't my favorite one. Mine
was Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive was fire.
Yeah, that was just precursor to Spider-Man, the movement, the post-apocalyptic vibe, the Ratchet and Clank weapons.
So good.
So much fun to play. It's just like, so good. Xbox should have locked down more of that, man, if they could have. They had the option to, 100%. That was easily my favorite. Like, I was in love with it. Titanfall, could you maybe?
For all its Titanfall is mine, because for all its flaws, it's indicative of the Xbox One generation. It's this amazing thing with this tremendous potential, but it's just something a little wrong, right? You ain't got no campaign, but you're amazing. Like, it's indicative. It was like, we're so close to having everything, but there's always a catch. Yeah. That's the Xbox One generation. So, and honorable shout. I'll be remiss, because this title doesn't get enough love. Ori and the Blind Forest. Come on, baby.
I thought we were doing Rise. I apologize.
I was
pounding my shield.
Rise is literally, but I know it's flawed, right? So it's like, Rise is like that cult classic, that mixtape that you always bump in the car. That's your favorite. Mixtape, you know what I'm saying? You don't care if it was a little fumble here and there, because it was fire. But like, Ori doesn't get the true love it deserves. Ori was a masterpiece. And
Agreed.
So salute to them. So those are my favorites from the era. It was a funny time, interesting time. But and of course the Forza series was doing, that Burger, Shades and Fries and Shake was outside during that thing. So I would say, those are kind of the best.
There were so many near misses too. Recore was one that I remember I was like kind of excited about. Remember those days that we were getting Recore, Peggle 2 was like a hype game for people. Christ almighty. Oh, I got an honorable mention.
Let's go.
Killer Instinct.
Yes.
That game is amazing, bro. That was my favorite launch game. Like, I know we put a lot of respect and love on Rise, but like that was the game I played much of. I love the move to free to play with like the premium upgrade. Like, I bought into that right away. The amount of support it got, the guest characters, so impressive, so underappreciated though. Like, I really truly hope Xbox, if they start addressing the fighting gaps a bit, which they're doing, right? We got Street Fighter, we got Mortal Kombat, but keep addressing those. and they start building a fighting game community, you got to bring back KI. That reboot, man, in 2013 was just sorely overlooked. It was so good, and they transitioned developers, and it was still amazing.
Still good. Yeah,
so I had to shout that one out. I almost forgot about it.
Good shout out. Yeah, that was definitely a shining star. Absolutely.
Number 4, Cog. Microsoft is getting ready to defend its FTC case as they're confirmed to be sending Satya Nadella, Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, Amy Hood, and Tim Stewart to protect their proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Mind you that while you're listening to this now, news will develop because it's already ongoing. Jim Ryan will be appearing over video, something that Microsoft was quick to point out to the outlet Verge. Quote, unlike Sony, our most senior executives will testify in person to answer any questions about our business strategy. This deal means more choice for gamers, a fact that only becomes clearer the more you look at the case, end quote, says David Cuddy, General Manager of Public Affairs at Microsoft. Bobby Kotick and Satya Nadella will appear first this week, and the stakes couldn't be higher as Microsoft has admitted in court filings that the deal could be over if the FTC is successful in winning an injunction. The FTC case will start with a pre-evidentiary hearing on June 21st, with the full hearing set across 5 days, June 22nd, 23rd, 27th, 28th, and the 29th. Many Xbox fans should keep an eye on the coverage of this case as the exhibit list appears to contain tantalizing information, such as Matt Booty discussing Xbox games for Switch, Phil Spencer and Jim Ryan emailing one another, Phil Spencer discussing multiple stores on Xbox, and Xbox leadership discussing pettiness from Sony and GameSpot's fanboy reviewers. That is so fucking good, bro. I can't believe that's actually there. This is a direct quote from the exhibit list. So they were saying some wild shit. And I that's gotta come out. GameSpot's like probably that 50 Cent, like, what are they saying fuck me for? Like, what did I do? So Cog, with all this lined up here, I know we can only speculate so much. We're in that awkward position where we're recording ahead of the storm. So we got to protect ourselves a little bit here and not go overboard with speculation. But
correct,
with what is here, with how things are lined up, I guess it's a good time as any for a little gut check as we approach what is the at least current deadline in July for this deal and how Xbox is looking to fast track through this if they can prevent the injunction. So what do you make of what's going on here?
Here we are, Politics 101. Like I said, I throw logic and reason out the window. This is where we are right now. We getting all the dirt. Bro, why they told you, man, it's like, unlike some, we took the trip to be here. Well, somebody doing video call. Meanwhile, they was flying every 5 minutes to block it before. Like, you can see the pettiness.
It's kind of fair to point out. I didn't even think of that. That is kind of fair to address.
Bro, the pettiness is at an all-time high. We are literally, check the emails. Check the email. We're Politics 101 right now, bro. This is where we are right now with gaming. It is unbelievable to me. But look, we should get clarity. You know, I'm still going to stay on my square. We'll see if I'm wrong or not. But that the deal should go through. But yeah, it's coming to a head, right? We're at that point. Everyone's going to jump in the meeting room. Everyone, look, I'm just, regardless of what happens, Ellison, fam, if it gets resolved one way or the other, or blocked one way or the other, I'm just tired of talking about it. Like, I'm just exhausted. I just need clarity so we could say, effective immediately, these games all come into Game Pass, or effective immediately, it's over, and Microsoft threw in the towel or whatever. We just need, it's such an ongoing saga, and I would hope that this doesn't get extended anymore, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know Microsoft's going to fight to the end. Other than that, yeah, the GameSpot thing was hilarious. The multiple I'm very curious about the Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer emails.
Yeah.
Very curious about that verbiage and who was saying what to what behind the scene. Very interesting. I do find it absolutely hilarious that Xbox does feel a way about certain reviewers and review outlets. I think that is hilarious to me. And the pettiness from Sony, I feel that part real because, there's a lot of talk right now about emails and certain people wanting to destroy certain companies and we don't. So it's like, listen, some of them are friends in life, but I do feel that there is a reality like, listen, a lot of these execs do feel the way fans feel on certain things.
Clearly, if they call it, what is the term here? GameSpot's fanboy reviewers.
They take this stuff to heart, right? A lot of both sides take a lot of this stuff to heart. Remember Jim Ryan was pissed off. We wasn't supposed to talk about this, that, and the third about the extent of the deal. And so we're now, and when I say this is why I brought it
so long ago. Holy crap.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So it's like, this is where now the pettiness, and it has reached an all-time high. And this is where I think is going to be, regardless of the ABK deal. And I said this on ILP. Put a gun in, this is Cog's prediction. That partnership that they had with Azure, I think that's a wrap. Because regardless of what happened, there's so much damage between both of them. And the pettiness, this ABK has really brought out the nastiness and the dirty laundry that you've already seen that now PlayStation is going to introduce cloud streaming now, right? Guess what service I'm not seeing as part of it? Azure. So to me, if I'm a betting man, Jim Ryan's last comments were, "Oh yeah, that was just in the preliminary talking stages." He was like, "Hey, what happened to that? You guys are supposed to be working with Sony and Azure, the sensors. Sony's going to give Microsoft sensors. You guys are going to get the Azure backbone." Oh no, this has turned this into a straight battle. We are not working with you. We are not doing no service with you. And now it is on. So that the culmination of all of this is there is beef. You best believe there is real, because you messing with people money. You know, Bobby just here for why Bobby here. Bobby just showing up.
We know.
Yo, when can my check and my parachute? When is it coming? You messing up the parachute, so you got that.
He's literally like a character in Lost. Like he's just on an island waiting for his escape. He really is,
bro. And then you got, let's be honest, we get mad at Xbox. Sometimes taking their eye off the ball. You got Phil and one Satya coming out. Like, bro, this is y'all. People are messing with each other's money. Sony don't want their money messed with, leave it status quo. And they like, yo, bro, why you acting like you not first place? And this is clearly not messing up the competitive. It is on. So that's what I'll say. The byproduct of this, Cox prediction, no Azure server deal partnership is going to move anything forward than that initial preliminary stages. That's my prediction.
I'm so excited to see everything that spills out of this. I'm excited to get updates on Xbox games on Switch. I still think like Master Chief Collection is going to be one of those. Like after that leaked little email that we saw from 343, and they said like, you'll see more from Master Chief, even if it's not on Xbox. I still think that they're going to try to find a way to do Master Chief Collection on Switch, or whenever that new Switch successor is announced, maybe Game Pass for that platform. I just feel like that's got to be something that's in the cards. So this may shine a light on that. Nintendo probably sweating bullets right now. He's like, damn, shouldn't have held out on that announcement for so long. But I feel like we're going to get information on that. Just like you, like Phil and Jim talking to one another, going to kind of get that feeling of when we saw, what was it, Phil and I believe it was it Tim? Who was it? The CEO, Tim Sweeney. Who the hell is the name of the CEO of
Valve? How about Gabe? Was it Gabe?
Not Gabe. No, it was.
Why am I bugging on?
Oh my God! It's Tim something.
Tim Sweeney.
Yes, it was. Okay, I don't know why I didn't think it was Sweeney, but I digress. Like we saw a little taste of that with the Epic Apple case, and it was like, okay, now we get the two big wigs at the top. Like, let's go. I want to see that. And then the just morbid curiosity on what these execs really say about reviewers. Like as a content creator, I am so fucking painfully aware some of these dudes and chicks absolutely hate me. They just can't stand me. And to see it's now also the press, I'm like, I'd love to see what you have to say about the beloved press. I am so excited to read this one and see the GameSpot fanboy reviewers and what's going on there. That's just to me as a content creator. Oh, I'm excited to just dig into that. But in all seriousness, this is really coming to a head. And I think the information that's going to spill out of this is going to be insane. Like we thought we were getting a lot with the little back and forth through press outlets at the start of this. This is where we said this a couple weeks ago when we heard that this is where things were going to go. This is where the information spills out because now you're in the court of law and they don't care what anybody sees. It's do or die. It's time to get the deal done in Xbox's eyes, because if they prevent this injunction, it can be done in a month or two.
Yeah.
And they know that. So they smell blood in the water. Like, this is it. And then the FTC is the same way. They know if they don't stop it here, that it's just going to storm right through. And that Xbox is considering leaving the UK behind in this.
Wow.
Don't be there for that victory lap if that happens, because I will, again, I'm going to the comments. The comment boys were on us, Cog. So, but we'll see how it all shakes out, man. But here we go. Perhaps the beginning of the end. Perhaps. Absolutely. God willing.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, really interesting one here. An Obsidian developer via forum site RPG Codex spoke on Avowed, which has apparently showed pre-alpha gameplay. Quote, "All I can say is the game has not entered alpha yet. Art will get refined in various ways, lighting will change, though designs will not change, of course. They are what they are. This is actually the longest we'll have for alpha/beta period for any game at Obsidian by a long shot, and this is good news," end quote. VRG writes in, "Hey guys, an Obsidian developer has said that there were issues with the visuals in the Avowed trailer. The external studio that made it, quote, did some compression of colors and image editing, end quote. Also, the lighting should change and the art needs to be refined. Apparently, the officially released screenshots are more representative of the game, so I'm sure the final product will turn out great. Were those who complained about the trailer's poor visuals vindicated? Can they take a victory lap like how the Dukes do for themselves? VRG, I'm here to say victory lap granted. I think that's fair. I think it's fair, because I think as I saw some blown up images, there were some that looked a little bit rough. Now to see it's pre-alpha, I think it's a little defendable, but some people who are a little disgusted, I think you could take your victory lap. Certainly we can't be the only ones jogging around this course here. So I think it's only fair. But Cog, your thoughts on what this verified developer from Obsidian had to share about it being pre-alpha gameplay, the updates on the visuals, and the period of time the game will be in alpha/beta for, which is good for testing. And of course, that's fundamental to any RPG for balancing sake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm still on the square, man. Like, to me, this is all about nothing. Like, I think this thing is the most overblown. Like, I'm really still shocked that people are talking about this. Like, I'm really shocked that people walked into there and was like, oh, no. I'm like, word? Like, that's what you got. Again, maybe I'm too close to the Black Rock. Maybe I'm too much. And maybe that's fair. Maybe I'm just too much of a fanboy of this studio and I like them too much. So I'm willing to. But I saw it and I did not get any of that. So it is interesting that maybe they felt the need to comment, you know what I'm saying, and talk about where it is as far as pre-alpha stuff, which means that it's not final product and it's going to, which I assumed anyway. You know what I mean? So to me, I will say this. Again, there's certain games, I see a lot of this. And Tone and everybody doing a development thing behind it. Don't let these games be fire. Don't let this game be fire. Bro, I'm going to come for y'all. Every last one of y'all that this, no, I shouldn't say that's wrong. It's not arm-chain development. It's just that this concern, right? And again, when you say tonal, right? When you say, again, if they were out there, and I said this on IOP, slashing clowns, ha, hee, hee, that's a tonal change. That is, this is some really silly, jokey, what are they doing? This is not what you showed me, right? Bro, you see a color in a biome in a different place, and then they still got desert, they still got dungeon, and you get all of that from this? You get, I am worried from this? Okay, I'll give you, Matty. They looked at the screenshot and they said, okay, this could be a little tightened up a little better. All right, fair. But to act, when I hear tonal, I think like you're going from a whole different serious tone to jokes like we doing High on Life. like, bro, like miss me with this. But again, I'm going to stay quiet and we're going to wait and we're going to see. We're gonna see. And like I said, don't let this be what man. Like I said, because I remember this one, because this is funny to me. Like this is surprising to me.
I'm right there with you. I think the victory lap in the terms of like if you saw weird looking visuals, that's fine. But tone shift, yeah, I'm right there with you. There was not a shift in tone in the dramatic sense that I think people are thinking it was. Was there a shift in design? Yes.
Possible. Okay. Fair.
Yes. But that's completely different. Tone
Yeah.
shift is completely different from a focus shift. Like, oh, we're going from open world to condensed open spaces
Right.
with replayability. That's
Right.
not a shift in tone. That's not.
The only thing I will give them, this is one thing I will give them, is if, and we said this initially, which me and you both agreed on, as far as Obsidian doing a self-evaluation of itself and say, hold up, let's do what we do. Right? Now, for the guy, now this is where I'll give the community, if this is their point. If their point is like, damn, I wanted Elder Scrolls though, right? If you wanted open world Elder Scrolls from Obsidian, I will give you that. Like, well, maybe I could see your disappointment there because you love Elder Scrolls so much. You don't want to wait for Bethesda. You want to see their take on it, and you wanted the open world thing, right? The only pushback I say is that's not the strength of Obsidian. Obsidian's strength has always been those hubbed and those contained, affect everything, you know what I'm saying, and narratively driven type world. So that's the pushback. But I understand that's the only concession COG will make if you are disappointed with Avowed, but you walked away, was like, oh, the hell are they doing? You know what I'm saying? But enough rant. Maybe I'm too close. I just love Obsidian. I think they're going to prove people wrong. I'm going to stand on that.
Yes, sir. Let's dig into something that we missed during the showcase week as well. South of Midnight had arguably the biggest Xbox Wire deep dive out of any of them I've surfed through. It's a massive interview with the team at Compulsion, and they highlight everything from the game to the main heroine to the visuals and so on and so forth. And I think it's a very telling article that I appreciate one of our patrons had actually sent my way. And again, apologies that I missed so much. I mean, I think it speaks to the jam-packed nature of Showcase Week, but it's still on me to track all this down. So apologies on that. But thank you for bearing with us as we actually do get into this. And we're not going to read the whole thing from top to bottom. I'm going to read blurbs from it, and we'll kind of take it piece by piece. But I still think it's worth getting into because this is definitely a very important game for Xbox. And I know one that we've been excited for since we heard that it was Project Midnight. So let's start at the beginning section, COG. We'll read this first handful of paragraphs and then discuss. South of Midnight's trailer gives a sense of its world and story, but there's more to learn. The game world will stretch across a fictionalized swath of the U.S., as Sears put it. It's inspired by the more interesting geological, topographical, cultural, societal, historical areas of the South. While the game's set in a version of the modern world, the settings you travel through will be almost exclusively rural, reflecting the places in between major urban areas and the sense of wonder and danger they can hold. It springs from concept that monsters are real, you need to jump over the backyard fence, says Sears. The farther you get away from the influences of civilization, the more magical the world becomes. That world will take in influences from two key genres of literature and movies that are less seen in games. Magic realism is one of the calling cards of Southern Gothic, says Sears. It's a license to actually put magic in the modern world and to have creatures there that are just accepted. We're not going to give you an information dump in the game, and that's in the spirit of magic realism, right? We're explaining enough that you will just accept it. So what do you think about that starting point there? Kind of setting the tone across, it sounds like, across the Deep South, like not just one set location. What do you make of what they're saying so far?
I love it. Love the tone. That seems to be a talking point these days. And I love underrepresented, areas, communities, histories, things of that nature. So automatically I am interested. There's no question. Like, this is something that we don't get a lot of. So let's go. Absolutely.
We're going to read the full section here for the heroine because I think it's important.
Yes.
Hazel's trailer appearance makes it clear that she's our lead. Outwardly confident, wisecracking, and actively on the hunt, setting off from the fictional town of Prospero, a town left behind by wider society, she takes up the mantle of protector. But key to Compulsion's work wasn't in just creating a blank canvas to imprint on. Hazel has been designed to feel like a real person who we happen to be accompanying on our journey. When we meet her, Hazel's grown up through a complex relationship with her mother, multiple failures, and societal injustice. She's sarcastic and disillusioned, and the humor we see in the trailer might be much of a defense mechanism as it is genuine. And in putting a Black woman in a central role, Compulsion also knew it had a responsibility to represent her correctly. Quote, I think seeing a Black woman as a protagonist, unfortunately, is still pretty unique for video games, especially of this scope, says Lewis. I think part of the trouble of having limited representation is that it can put a lot of pressure on any one character to represent every aspect of a culture. To tell the story of a Black woman in this setting creates another level of complexity that the team had to meet with curiosity and empathy. The approach to this had to start by having just proper representation on the team, ensuring that we had Black women and women of color on our narrative team is key for understanding and writing Hazel's voice. I think the reason Hazel stands out for me is that she has many of the same issues as real people have, which is refreshing as she's trying to learn to be our hero, adds Sears. She's unstoppable. And it's about finding her footing and going out into the world to make it a better place, end quote. The result is a character Compulsion feels is fully formed, not an avatar, but a human being will learn about and love over the course of the game. But of course, Hazel isn't entirely familiar to us for one key reason. So, Cog, I mean, this, of course, is all you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
No, this hits home, and I do want to shout out for Spoken for a little bit, just for the attempt, what I'm saying? Because you don't see, Black females in lead protagonist roles. I believe the Gunk also made an attempt as well, but no, it's necessary. And look, this isn't, because I know there's going to be some talk already with certain groups, but
once the gameplay hits, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So look, this is what I say, and this applies to all races or all cultures that I don't get a chance to see a lot of. Like, why? Another reason why I love Ghost of Tsushima so much. Like, a Japanese lead. You know what I mean? Like, getting the. So for me, I don't get a lot of this. This is really cool. And the cool thing is it seems like they're going the extra mile with getting the representation as far as getting the true backstory from Black women and the South and that historical nature. I like what they're attempting. The key is going to be the execution, but from this, obviously as a Black man, of course, I love to see this type of stuff. This is really encouraging. There is something to be said about seeing stuff like this. It doesn't mean anybody else stuff go get taken away, but when you get into gaming, and people have to understand, like, just talk about some state of white culture. Like, when my Irish friends see the Irish, gentlemen, the lead protagonist, he's speaking in the fluent tongue. It's powerful. I don't care who you are. Cog loves everybody. Whatever your background is, Indian, whatever. If you see something representative of yourself and it's done well with care, oh, you love it. I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx. When I hear that slang and that talk, they did their research. Oh, man, like for my Italianos, I hear that Goomba talk or I hear some real bro, I'm with it. Like, I don't care what culture, as long as you represent it well and show more, that's where I'm championing Compulsion. I'm pulling for them. But you still got to make a good game. You still got to execute. But I love what I'm hearing so far.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That was the only thing I was going to add on. Is just, I think for me, it comes down to execution, right? Like, I think I always look at Mafia 3 as just, I think, proper execution. I think they nailed it. They went to the dirty areas. They handled them with care. For all you can say about the open world and this gameplay systems, I think the story, the delivery, the capturing of the time period was fantastic. And hopefully we see much of that from Compulsion. They certainly seem to have the right staff at the helm.
Yeah, love what they're doing there.
At the end of the trailer, we see Hazel wielding magic, a very specific type of magic known as weaving. Used for both combat and traversal, weaving will be the bedrock of your interactions in South of Midnight, and it sounds very different from your standard video game fireball in hand approach. It's full of fractal geometry expressed as knitting and doilies. Everything is themed after textiles, explains Sears. Essentially, you take the strands that make up the universe and weave or spin them into useful forms for the player to use. Weavers are born with the ability to see deeper and see the way the universe is really constructed by these energized, semi-autonomous strands. The universe has intention, but sometimes it breaks down. And it's why we have the weavers to repair tears in the grand tapestry that makes up every person, place, and thing in existence. Effectively, Hazel's power isn't to simply destroy the monsters that have appeared in the world, but to repair the tears in the world itself that have let them spill through. So, what do you make of that traversal as well? It was kind of nice to see. I'm getting Psychonauts kind of energy here. That's what I'm thinking of, like thematically tying in your gameplay and all of its core tenets with your narrative. It sounds like it's all coming together here. It's in unison. Like, you're not just destroying them. You're not casting fireballs and tearing them apart. You're repairing them at times. So I'm keen to see what you think of this, Cog. How do you feel about magic weaving here in South of Midnight?
It's so funny because I'm very curious about Compulsion's development cycle in conjunction with Destiny's cycle with the Strand ability in Destiny. Because literally Destiny made something called Strand where the Warlock is called the Brood Weaver and then construct and then it also has a traversal mechanic where you can. I'm very curious though, like while they're both making these games, like where how Compulsion was feeling when they saw it, because this literally sounds like Strand in Destiny, which I love. Strand is amazing. But again, that's just a reference point. They could have a completely different take, Compulsion, as far as where they want to go with South of Midnight. Sounds interesting. I like the whole, tears of the fabric kind of thing. I just need to see the implementation. Now that's where I'm at with it. But I like the idea of it. It sounds very cool.
Scrolling down towards the bottom, because they talk a bit about creatures. They talk a bit about Mr. Shaken Bones, who is the character strumming the guitar. They talk about music. I want to get into really here the look, Cog, because I feel like that's where a lot of our discussions have sort of settled with South of Midnight. They write this. South of Midnight's trailer has an arresting look, all elongated character silhouettes, painterly textures, and rich, soupy lighting. References like Coraline. It's funny. I actually didn't read this, so that's funny. I actually said that when we saw this. But referencing the likes of Coraline and the work of Rankin and Bass, Sears says the whole art style is very handcrafted, much like the sets and maquettes that are built for stop motion. If you look closely, you might notice the fibers of the characters' clothes are a bit coarser and looser than normal. It is as if the clothing was plucked out of a miniature world and worn by a much larger person. That's just one example, of course. Overall, we are going to have a feeling of handcrafted everything rather than creating photorealistic objects, which helps create the feeling of being a folk tale. It's all part of Compulsion's own studio DNA. We're always looking for art direction that builds or reinforces the identity of the game. While this can be interesting to gamers who play the game, it is equally interesting to us as we work on the game. The process is more about the interpretation of objects, characters, textures, etc., into a style rather than trying to duplicate real-world versions of those things. As much as anything else, the ability to experiment with the expected speaks to the freedom Compulsion has had to make the game it set out to, a personal, sometimes narratively challenging, deeply unusual experience. So, Cog, it looks like it's not going to line up as your just one, but what do you make of this approach to the art style?
Yeah, look, freedom, right? Freedom. Just because something is not photorealistic and hashtag just one in this case, doesn't mean Cog's disappointed. The Cog is not excited. It just doesn't qualify that specific criteria. But for it game and what they're doing in its own merit, I love what the attempt is because you're getting culture, you're getting the music, you're getting, they even talked about lore-wise, talking about Caribbean and African, bro, that resonate. I got a lot of that in my family too. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Caribbean, West Indian, African, like I've never seen that spoken in, that it will be approached from a cultural lore standpoint. So what they're attempting here is so amazing to me. It's so culture rich. It's so the feel, the vibe, the art style, the clothing. I love it. My only concern, again, the stop motion nature. I got to see how that plays. I'm a little in the middle with that. That's literally my only concern with something. Like, we haven't seen it moving yet. That's where I try to tell people that's coming for me. Like, oh, just one Cog. We got to see it. But from what they describing, Cog is interested. Cog will be there. I want to see what you got cooking. I'm excited. Like, this does not, just because, and last thing I'll say to LSM or ILP, just because something is not hashtag just one does not make my excitement any less. And people have to get that out, because I'm with Matty too. There is redundancy in hashtag just one as well. And you want to encourage and support things that are trying unique and new things, right? So still, my excitement is super high for this. And I like Compulsion. I'm pulling for it. We all know what the history is. So let's go. I'm just liking how hard they're going with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part that's really exciting to me.
Otherwise, they talk a bit about their relationship with Xbox, and I thought it was worth highlighting. Of course, they're not going to talk about it in any type of negative way, but it goes to speak to some of the roots of the partnership, which, again, this is the company we've heard really the least about out of I call it the class of 2018. So we'll read a bit about that, and then the interview's over. Working with Microsoft has been amazing, says Sears, when I ask him what it's been like on Compulsion's first full journey as an Xbox game studio. It's one of the rare times I've made a game without fear. For me, this game was very personal, so I didn't want to build it with someone who doesn't understand what we're trying to do or wouldn't be supportive. Xbox was very reassuring and very supportive. It's pretty rare to get that in game development. The collaboration with Xbox has run deep. In order to present the world of the South and its people with the right level of authenticity, Compulsion leveraged Xbox's user research group and the Black employee research group. Even Lewis's role on the game is a collaboration. His day job involves running Xbox's developer acceleration program, which was announced earlier this year. The team also pulled from outside of Xbox, employing consulting group Sweet Baby to help craft the diversity of voices needed for a game like this. It's important that we just empower the varying perspectives that we have on the broader team, says Lewis, of that effort for honest representation. To be honest, does this make for some uncomfortable conversations? Yes. And that's part of what we signed up for when we chose to share Hazel's story. But the work of authenticity also goes beyond the team and our own research and due diligence. You don't actually have to be from the area to attest to the American South has a history that makes it difficult to use as a setting without its difficult past, which we can still feel the impact of today. But there's a fine balance between representing a place and its people and taking on the wider cultural milieu that surrounds them. At the end of the day, we want Hazel's story to shine through. Hazel's job is not to fix racism or the South's troubled history, says Lewis of the game's intent. Those beautiful challenges are not fair to her. Her job is to be seen as a person coming of age in a scary and beautiful world, making her an authentic person that people like my wife, my daughter, my mother, who all look like Hazel, will hopefully recognize and relate to. In essence, Compulsion's originality and its due diligence on bringing in other perspectives and voices is what will help South of Midnight stand alone. I feel like this type of game this is the type of game that we need in our portfolio, says Lewis. I feel like Xbox fans want to see this game. There are people who may have enjoyed everything else in the portfolio, but they haven't met a character like Hazel in anything that we put out. For Compulsion to be willing to bring that type of experience, I think it's a much needed part of what we deliver to Xbox fans. I am super excited. So Cog, I got to kick it to you again, man. It's all you. I just got to hear this focus, this intent on authenticity, personal project, kind of Josh Sawyer vibes in a way. Like we had to try to do this, but it was only with the right partner. This sounds like a special game where it's trying something really unique to for better or for worse. We'll see if they nail it, but it sounds like they're really going for it all, if you're to believe everything that's here. And I'm just curious now, we're at the bottom of the interview, what you make of Xbox's impact on this and this intent for authenticity and an honest representation that seems like it's a story that's going to include racism, but it's not about like fixing it, but like kind of living through it. And what you make of all of that.
Yeah, this is ambitious. This is bold. This is, and not to get too corporate, but it's like, these are the type of games, we got to be honest, that generally, if they were not part of Xbox Game Studios, it's going to be hard to greenlight this. Because, from an overall publisher standpoint, maybe they say, hey, who's this going to appeal to? We, I don't know. It's so, you know what I mean? And maybe we don't even want to touch even you including that because we want to stay away from, the politic nature of it. And, not to call him out because this is my homie and it's not even a call out, but I look at my man Luke Bernard, who's doing something I think is really special. Colin had him interviewed. He's doing a game called Light in the Darkness. And it's basically a game about, from a family perspective, going through the Holocaust, right? Yeah. And it's on PlayStation right now. It's free. It should be coming to Xbox. And Colin had a great interview with him. I was on Second Singles Plus a long time ago. And again, this is a guy doing it himself, right? And it took a while for people to catch on and, so that's this type of it. We can't ignore the history of the country and things that go on, and to include them on some level, I think is courageous. I think, and to tell a unique story and to focus on what Sears is saying, like, I know the level of authenticity he's trying to go through, and to see Xbox support that is super dope. So I'm pulling for them. Like, at the end of the day, like, we need stuff, and this is for everybody. For me as a Black man to see this is super encouraging. It's super inspiring. You know, you have nothing but to pull for them, because again, we don't get, like, we don't get the South a lot. Like, I like that. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear the, you know what I'm saying, the talk, that kind of thing. So yeah, and the fact that they went through the developmental developer acceleration program, the research group and Black employee research group, to get the voices, to get that consulting from the authenticity of the time and the people. That is huge. So yeah, I love stuff like, listen, you got nothing but to root and cheer for them, that this game, you know, can be solid, because I like the extra effort that they're going through with it.
Yeah, I appreciate the consultancy work. It's something we do a bit on my game to kind of to yes. I yes, realize now.
Yes,
I just
got it. Yes.
I almost got there. Son of a
baby.
bitch.
The streak continues, baby. Birthday boy mention. Let's go. Oh, it's beautiful. It was beautiful how you brought it together. How you pieced that up.
All I was gonna say is it's really important, because you can get in your own head as a writer on like what's right, what's wrong, and it's always good to go to the people and get their thoughts on not even just writing, like story stuff, art, you know, good representation of what different people from different cultures look like. One common thing I remember seeing people have a lot of issues with is Black men with haircuts, like, you know, what they look like. And they were just like the same, like cornrows, I think was one that people were like, man, why has everyone got cornrows? It's like, you know, so it's that type of consulting that's good. And whether it just be a friend or a group of people, I mean, I think it's fantastic being a little bit aware of that process, seeing that they're taking those types of leaps. I think it's really good that they're using all the resources at their fingertips. All right, we still got two more little notes here in our news section, and we're continuing to ramp up here as we talk about IGN's hands-on preview with Starfield for number 7. So, number of notes here. I'm just going to kind of vomit them out, and then we'll discuss them. Ryan McCaffrey said he played for around an hour across multiple save files on Xbox Series X, but he didn't play a single story mission from start to finish. He said the scale and scope of the game is true and suspects that we could be playing this game for years. He also pointed out that there will be people who definitely throw hundreds of hours into this game and never even finish the main story. The thousands of planets are procedurally generated, but the content within it is handcrafted. I've seen a lot of, I want to stop there real quick. I've seen a lot of write-ins on Duke on my own YouTube channel about this subject. I reached out to Bethesda about this. They got back to me and they said they noticed a lot of people are kind of having the same issue. So right now they're rocking with the current information, but they're looking to kind of write the record on what exactly this procedural content is or isn't. Specifically, they actually noted, they said they saw in my video, I was like, I don't know what it is, but they said myself and others. So let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, all right.
But good to know they're listening. Good to know they're listening. I'm sure they were pleasantly, they were like, after Redfall, this is a breath of fresh air. He likes this. Continuing on. When visiting New Atlantis, he met Constellation and said, you'll understand why within the first 30 minutes of the game, you're going to be doing that. Ryan described it as it being New Atlantis as a combination of Oblivion's Imperial City and Mass Effect's Citadel. He says it is stitched together with subways that'll bring you from district to district, and that every NPC in there is one that you can converse with or interact with, some just having one-line blurbs, others having full-on conversation. He didn't see any non-human NPCs like aliens and does not know if the game has mounts. When asked about a pacifist mode, he mentioned a choice at the start of the game where you can avoid picking up a weapon in a certain scenario, but he's unsure otherwise if there's going to be a mode in the game for zero combat. He did note, though, on the topic of combat, that melee combat is satisfying. And then he told an interesting little story about him docking his ship on a freighter ship where the gravity well was apparently malfunctioning within the ship. So the lights were turning on and off. And alongside that, the gravity was turning on and off. So it was impacting his exploration, but there were points where things started to float in the air And then they all just like dropped and the lights are flickering while this was happening. So a lot here, Cog. A lot here that I thought after an hour, I was thinking like, what's he going to really get out of this? But stuff to talk about, no doubt. So wherever you'd like to jump off.
Wow, this is super impressive. Like, for me, let's start with the hardware itself that, no bait and switch. It's on the platform.
Xbox Series X,
This is what we doing. You know what I'm saying? Look, to me, the biggest one is talking about that new Atlantis, though. Because when you mention a combination of Oblivion's Imperial City and then Mass Effect Citadel, the traveling and all that, like, now you're showing me there is still that density of story and NPC stuff that excites me. That really excites me. And then you're talking about, but there's the way of systems and object permanence and NPC permanence, that no other game is really doing like that. Because as much as we love Mass Effect, you're limited into what you can do and how you can affect NPCs with choices. Whereas in Oblivion and them, you can run down and do whatever, you know what I'm saying? There's consequence. So yeah, this is dope. Interesting pacifist mode situation. If there is an option to, not to say go non-violent throughout, but the fact that he mentioned, that you can avoid picking up a weapon, that's an interesting design choice, I think, by Bethesda to even have that there to see what it is. I love when I hear combat satisfying. When I hear combat satisfying, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like that was the biggest fear for me.
The melee?
We saw that, not even just combat in a whole.
Got you. Yeah,
because my thing is, let's be real. Eric Jackson, if you're listening, you're the homie. So I'm going to call you out because you're the homie. You listen to LSM and Define Do all the time. One of the funniest detractors from Bethesda games, right? I hear this a lot from the Skyrim days. Hey, Cog, your games are fire, but why them swords be feeling like butter knives? Like you hitting people with butter knives, bro. You ain't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I get it, and I could never really fight. Shout out to B Money, is another one of my homies. Him and they used to kill me. Like, that's the only thing with them Bethesda games you be captured for. Combat. I'm like, all right, fair. But now we saw that gunplay improve. Right? We saw that. Now, when we remember one of the biggest highlights I said when you asked me about raw reactions was, bro, when I'm coming in there with that, whoa, and when you got the melee, you roughing and rocking, socking people upside the head, like that seems, and the developer seems satisfied with doing it. So for me, combat, huge. That's a big deal because that's going to be moment to moment gaming. There's going to be people who want to play just actiony and now don't have to worry for the most part. We still got to get it in our hands that the combat, when Ryan says the combat is satisfying, melee specifically, let's go. Like that got me so hyped on a core level. But man, like the fact, and last, he said the scale and scope of the game is true. We suspect we could play this for years. Trying to calm down. I'm not to get ahead of myself. But again, don't let this game be what it is. Don't let it come out and be what it is. Oh boy. You're going to see the messiest I've ever been. I always keep it professional, respectful, balanced. But if this do what it do, I'm warning people.
You've warned them multiple times at that, so they should be prepared for what's to come. That's so funny though. I'm hoping that it hits the 90 plus because if it does, messy cog coming outside. I just get to take a week off pretty much because I feel like I'm always the fire starter at times, so it's just like I just get to watch it happen.
I already got mental plans of what I'm going to do if it happens.
No.
You go, trust me, you will enjoy
that. The war table.
Duke. Listen, you will enjoy that defining Duke if it happens. I'm telling you, you will be. I will muster Mr. Matty Plays energy for that. You will see things you'll never see before. Trust me. Like I said, I'm trying to be. You know how you speak things into existence. Like I said, if it happens, listen. If it don't, I got to take the L. Feel free to throw the tomatoes, and I get all the smoke. You know I'm a man. I take it. It's all good. But trust me. Y'all in for a treat. I was just telling you. I already put in my mind what I'm going to things I'm going to do. Let me tell you. Yes. But anyway, forget about me. Yo, what you feeling about this joint? Starfield? How we feeling?
Very excited about what he said about New Atlantis. To me, like Citadel and Mass Effect is one of the best locations in video games. And then the Imperial City is one of Bethesda's best realized locations in the terms of like districts where people live and what they're up to in their day to day. And to see Starfield with like its diversity of NPCs and things that they can do. And we saw how many assets were there and just how visually diverse it was. Like it's going to be a treat where I feel like you could probably spend 10 plus hours at just that place alone, which is going to be crazy to think about if you get multiple spots like that. But that to me was awesome to hear. The districts are split up with like a subway system. I'm thinking what haven't we seen with this city? You know, there's one part where they go above an overlook and you see down. Like, this place is huge, man, huge. There's gonna be so much content packed in this one city. I cannot wait to see, because to me it looks like they almost did a radius, like they started here and then just built outwards for the rest of the game. So I feel all of the love and crazy stuff was just packed into New Atlantis. This is from day one been the place that like when I get in that ship and I can steer wherever I want, New Atlantis, I'm calling for you first. I'm heading there right away. So excited for that. I was also really happy to hear about how the ships are, for example, like the gravity can shut off, because I mentioned this in my video talking about it. I said, when you go through a Bethesda Game Studios dungeon, like Fallout 4 was mostly shooting galleries. Of course, that was the same with 76. Skyrim, you got the occasional puzzle where maybe you'd like rotate something and match symbols up, or you take the dragon claw and you look at the back of it and you're like, okay, it's these three. Okay, I'm going to match it up here on the door. Got it. Okay. But otherwise, you know, it was just very simple. So to see the environment be active and alive, potentially based off certain conditions, we'll say, within the ship, is very exciting, because when Bethesda talks about, oh, you can pick this up and you can move it, it's never really played a factor in their dungeons per se, which it never really had to. It was just more so interactive to make sure their world felt alive. But to see something like, yeah, the boxes started floating and so did I, and then when the gravity shut off, like we dropped back down, that's going to change the whole way a Bethesda Game Studios dungeon feels on that alone. That's one specific example. And if it was set up across multiple save files, probably Todd and the team were like, yeah, we were kind of cooking here. Like, yeah, show them that, put a file in. So I think that that's definitely encouraging nonetheless. The scale and scope I already believed in. You know, I think of Skyrim, I only beat that game once. Anytime I fire up Skyrim now, I call it the faction highlight reel. I just go through Dark Brotherhood. I make my visit to the Mages Guild. I'm like, okay, all right, that's another 50 hours. All right, like I'm done, you know, because I just keep dipping in constantly. What new content have we added? Like, what's this anniversary edition? Another 20 hours in. Okay. That's what I do. I just dip into Skyrim. And I think Starfield's going to be much of the same. I think it's going to be dips in the pool for people after that first playthrough. Like, all right, new mod. All right, new expansion. In I go. And I think we're going to beat this game once, and then that's it. So I totally get the idea of like people are going to put hundreds of hours in and just never beat Starfield's main story. It's totally plausible with what kind of game they've made. With Fallout 4, I think it's a little different. Like that's a game where all of the factions converge in like one endpoint. So you can only avoid the main story for so long. But with Starfield and its vastness and all of the systems that they provide, oh yeah, like I already believed in the scale and scope of it, for better or for worse still. Like we'll see how, when we get that explanation procedural content, we'll see how many planets are just for mining resources,
right?
Outposts, how much of a factor building outpost plays in the overall experience, because Bethesda is on record of saying with Fallout 4, oh, settlement mode is just optional. What do you got to build to get into the Institute? That's right. You had to get everything all put together and actually use the settlement mode, which I get, but that was a lie, Todd. That was one time I think a lot of people get carried away with some of the lies, but that was a lie. No doubt about it. I was feeling it. Otherwise, what else is here on this list? No aliens. I'm still holding out hope. I think that's going to be the end of the game. Like, I think you're going to find aliens. It's got to be. I feel like it's just written in the stars, literally. I think it's got to be. But otherwise, not much for me to take away from here that I could add to. The combat looks massively improved just based off what they showed with I think it was called like Neuro Strikes, where he was punching these like raiders and they were just sending them flying. So cool.
Good. So
but we have one question, Cog, from Ross Wynyard.
Let's go, Ross.
Hey, Double D, someone submitted a question regarding optimum game length to Sacred Symbols last week, and it got me thinking. Starfield seems daunting in its scale and will no doubt offer hundreds of hours of playtime if you choose, but how long should the main campaign be? As a father, I have limited time to game these days, so I'm a bit put off by the apparent length of Starfield, but I could be tempted by a solid 20 to 40-ish hour campaign. What do you guys think? How long do you think Starfield's main story will be, and how long would you consider perfect? Thank you, Ross, for writing in. Obviously, this is a shot from the hip here, Cog, but I'm just curious what you expect in the terms of length with this game. No doubt it's going to be hundreds of hours long. No doubt. Just in the general like breadth of content and everything you could see and do. But I know for you, like you're a working man, you're a busy guy, right? Finding the hours to play. So I think your answer probably has more weight than mine in this sense, where I'm just curious, what would be the ideal hour clock? And I'll just say this to Ross on a side note is that I think you can pick up, play Starfield and get a perfectly fine, acceptable experience without touching the story. I say that in advance because every Bethesda Game Studios game has been much of the same. You don't play Fallout 3 for the story, and I love Fallout 3 story, but you don't play it for the story. You don't play Oblivion for the story. You don't play Skyrim for the story. You don't play Fallout 4 for the story. You never play. If you're playing any of these games just for the main story, which I understand presents a sense of finality, like I'm done, but you can put 30 hours in and be like, all right, I'll dip in later or something like that. Like you can do that. Many thousands of people do that. That is the experience for many people in Bethesda Game Studios. They don't give a shit about the main story because honestly, their best content is always the factions. It's always the side stuff. It's always the dungeons. That's the experience there. So Ross, I don't think you should hesitate at all, my friend. I think you should be there no matter what. But Cog, your thoughts, sir?
I guess I want to pull it back to you as far as like, let's put it in perspective because it's been so long since I've played. Like I said, I did Skyrim, played it, beat it once, did Oblivion, played like I forgot like scale now from a main quest line perspective, what's been the foundation prior. That would help me get perspective. So I'm trying to think like Skyrim, what are we saying? Like if you just mainline it, was it 30, 40 hours? Was it more than that? You know what I'm saying? I just can't remember. It's been so long. And I'm like you, like when I beat them, I don't really go back like that because the only time I go back is if, like you said, oh man, I didn't finish Dark Brotherhood. Let me get that. Oh, I didn't do these other, you know what I'm saying, quests and stuff like that. Fighters Guild, Thieves Guild, you know, that kind of stuff. So trying to get an idea scale-wise, do we know like what Skyrim's main campaign, if you just beeline it, what it was? I was trying to see.
Not very long. Not very long at all. You could
10, 20?
I'll double check real quick on like Skyrim main story.
Yeah, main quest line,
I don't.
That's what I was looking for.
Someone's saying 34 and a half hours, but that's on how long.
Yep. They say approximately 15 to 30, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because you get sidetracked, but I think if you just mainline the main story, like you could just beeline in like 15 hours. It's not super long.
So let's say that it's in that, 15 to 20, whatever. But we know how Bethesda games go. You start off on that quest. And you go, wait a minute, what's that over there? What is going on? And then, you get some random person, by the terror. When you get adored, you get people run down on you. You get dynamic quests. So it's like the thing about Bethesda games is that you have to be disciplined. You have a certain level of discipline that is stronger than any other man to say, no, I am not going to interact with that. I'm not going to do these things. I am just going, nothing piques my interest. I'm just like, that's the thing. And I'm not even going to fool myself, bro. The beauty of Bethesda games is, look at this cool thing I did and I met, encountered this, that led to this whole thing. I'm on this place. Like that's that emergent Bethesda gameplay that no other games really have replicated. And I say this to also say, because I got a little spicy recently, man.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because, a lot of the, fanboys on the other side and, they talking the performance and they talking all this stuff and why can't it be? And all I say is we talked about object permanence. We talked about going into every single house and structure and every object interacted. This level of systems on just that alone, right? And why these games are so beloved. And look, I love Final Fantasy 16. I love that I just played that demo. But if you played that demo, if you remember, when there's first of all, everything looks beautiful. So you're getting the graphical fidelity of 60 frames, mostly 720, 60. But you're getting the fidelity, right? But at the expense of when you walked into town in the demo, you can't go into every single house. You can't talk to and kill any NPC. There's level. And the last thing I'll say, not to make this a full comparison thing, but object interactability. Think about when you look at a play like those type of games, you'll see like a shining light saying, hey, this is the only thing you can interact with right here. Go touch this materia, right? Go pick this up. That's not what Bethesda games are. It's everything, for the most part, an object permanent. So that's the difference. Sorry, I went on that rant, but I wanted to say that I started to see this talk. So back on focus, with Ross, if you have the discipline and you cannot do all those things and you just see main quest and that's all you're doing, God bless. But I know COG is weak and it ain't happening. Not in Bethesda. I got to traverse it all. I got to see what's going on. So, and it usually rewards you for your curiosity and your questing. So, yeah, salute to you. I know it's going to be hard. Suggestion. Hey, you just randomly coming down with this flu. I think you're going to get sick around that time. And I think during that time, you need to preemptively put in about a week or two so you can get that nice blaze that you need from work. You know what I'm saying? Because you're coming down with something.
I agree. Yeah, you're looking a little ill, Ross.
Yeah, you're not just strongest right now. And I think you need to take care of yourself, specifically in the month of September, 5 days early.
And just set $100 aside for early access purposes that you just happen to have there. Oh wow, look,
boom, you'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, number 8, last bit of news here. Coming soon to Xbox Game Pass. On June 22nd, we get Need for Speed Unbound on Series consoles, PC, and cloud, and The Bookwalker on console and PC. By the way, just to make it clear, when I say console, that's all the Xbox family. That includes Xbox One, in case anyone couldn't distinguish the difference. On June 27th, we get Bramble the Mountain King on console, PC, and cloud. Meanwhile, Fist Forged in Shadow Torch is coming to Series consoles, PC, and cloud. On June 29th, we get Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town on console and PC. On July 3rd, we get Arcade Paradise on console and PC. And on July 5th, Sword and Fairy Together Forever on console and PC. Meanwhile, leaving Xbox Game Pass soon, DJ Max Respect V exits console and PC, along with all of these. All of these are console and PC. Empire of Sin, Match Point Tennis Championship, Elysia, Omori, and Road 96. So, COG, anything standing out to you here on the exit or entry list?
Need for Speed. There you go. Mm-hmm. Right on time. Good thing I held out. Heard good things about you. Good things about you. Let me see. Oh, PC. Yes. We'll put you on the ally. We'll see how you do over there. Just a nice little quick jump off. Racing games I love on portable, by the way. For some reason, it really translates well. But that's probably it for me. And as far as little sad one, I mentioned this when I first started to finally do, again, turn-based gang. You already know what it is. Empire of Sin, man. It was a fun little, swingy little time for that time period of the mobsters, what I'm saying, kind of thing. Not perfect, but a nice, fun turn-based experience with great voice acting. So that one's going to be sad to see go, but it was in there for you. You had a year, y'all. Come on. And
if you know these windows by now.
Facts. Turn-based gang, get in there if you haven't tried it. It's a fun little romp. So salute. What about
Need for Speed Unbound arriving this tomorrow, or really when we're recording this tomorrow, but it'll be out by the time everyone hears it. This is a very telling sign that it's a 6-month window and then you come to Game Pass. This came out in December. So that means that Star Wars Jedi Survivor should be October.
We'll see if they hold on.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Just keep it in mind, y'all. Duke Victory Lap incoming. All right, well, that's what's happening with Game Pass. Now it's time for our Game Pass pick of the week. I'm up this time. And, funny, COG, that we talked a little bit about the Avowed slander. And there's a game that I'm seeing I'm seeing people get a little too comfortable with how much they are displeased by it. They think it's overrated. It's you're gonna hear me kind of preach a bit like I did with Wasteland 3. It's time for y'all to settle in the nest and play a little bit of the Outer Worlds. That's my Game Pass pick of the week. All right. Even if you've played it, it's time for you to return. Because right now, a lot of you are probably looking for a Bethesda Game Studio style experience. You can get a lot of that, by the way, OG Bethesda Game Studio style experience. You can get a lot of that in the Outer Worlds with its phenomenal DLC and Peril on Gorgon, and especially Murder on Eridanos. Especially, that's worth returning for it all. But I have to be honest with my primary motivation for this pick. Of course, we've preached the good word of the Outer Worlds here on this show. But I'm getting a little sick of it, Cog. I'm getting a little sick of reading these comment boys firing off, saying things like, yeah, bro, it's not good. Glorified RPG. Look, I respect people's opinions all day. But to call this like a glorified RPG or Obsidian at their weakest, I'm sorry, but what? What are we doing? Like, this is the game we're choosing to put down? Outer Worlds? There's so much worse out. This is the one we're going for. So I think what happens a lot with gamers, because many of us are disgruntled, and I understand, we get away from something. And I know this because I say this not to identify gamers as this. I know this because many of my best friends are this way. You get distance is created from that thing that you really loved at first. And as the conversation carries on, I didn't like that. Yeah, I didn't like that. Yeah, I didn't like that. Yeah, this game sucks. That's where you get to. That's the end result. But when you come back home and you play it, all of a sudden your brain is flooded with everything you loved about this game. So beyond my preachy standpoint, The Outer Worlds, if you did not know, is a game that you can play multiple ways with multiple endings. Many of the game's arcs conclude in different ways depending on your choices. It is a deep role-playing game. Now, I'm not going to sell you hard on the combat. Combat in The Outer Worlds, it works, but it's not fun, in my opinion. It's just, simple AI, simple shooting. I don't make much use of the slowdown time shooting ability. It's not that. So it's just slowing down time, and that's really it. And it's not, to me, necessary for the combat even at its hardest. There's Supernova, though, which you can kind of apply for a really ramped up playthrough. But the way they've inserted the DLC is it's a part of the main narrative now. So it's not like, okay, you beat the game, new game plus, here's what happens after. This is all added planets and places you go to on your quest to the finale. So it kind of fits in if you're ready to start a new playthrough. But otherwise, it's time to see the reactivity of Obsidian and what they're best known for, because I think much of what you're going to get here is hopefully much of what we'll get with Starfield. But more importantly, for the slander, I think it's much of what you're going to get with Avowed, with a serious tone. So I think The Outer Worlds is a game that, with July being pretty open and empty, I know many of our base does have PlayStation 5s, but for those who don't, they don't really have something like Final Fantasy 16 right on the horizon, where you might be looking, what's next for me? And what's next for you is your deep, dark past that you must confront. You must understand The Outer Worlds is better than you realize. You must understand, because this is not the whipping post that you think it is. There are plenty of other games that can receive your ire. This shall not be one of them. And I implore you to make your grand return and understand just how wonderful the Halcyon colonies are.
Ooh, Space's Choice. Let's go. It's the Space's Choice and above. Listen, man. It's warm my heart for you to say. Because I honestly think a lot of people, not all, because some people have played it. And if you played it, but I think a lot, when you hear the Bethesda game slander, you hear the Obsidian game, the Outer Worlds slander, all of a sudden, it's such a small, I think, vocal minority, to be honest. I don't really think it's, but I think a lot of people expose themselves for not playing and beating the games. And I think when you play them, you see the magic of it. So I'm glad you said this, because, bro, that was a treat. I remember, that was a treat. And then they updated it. They updated it. These 60 frames per second.
Yeah, don't play the Spacer's Choice Edition.
Don't play that one. Yeah. Don't play that one.
Oh, thank you for saying that word, because holy smokes.
Do not play the Spaces. Play the Game Pass joint that's in Game Pass by Obsidian, not the other private division. Yeah. But yeah, do that. Don't do Spaces Choice because you good because you already got the 60 frames already. You got your HDR in the Game Pass
better
version.
Looking,
it's smooth,
better running,
better looking.
Yes.
You good to go. Good catch. Because then they'll come for us.
Yes. then they'd be like, what you talking about, Matty? This game sucks.
This game is trash. Yeah, facts. A big catch there.
So that's our Game Pass pick of the week, and that brings us to our final question of the show. Kind of a look, again, really back, actually, here. Cody Erb writes, Howdy Dukes. Final Fantasy 16 reviews have dropped. Nintendo, Sony, Xbox have outlined their 2023 timeline. We're basically halfway through 2023. I wanted to get your vibe check on this year. Where do you think this year will sit in the terms of all-time gaming years, game of the year so far? And do you think any of that changes? What do you think will be the 6 games nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards? I hope you have a RPG fans are eating good type of day. Thank you, Cody, for writing in to wrap us up here. Cog. Good. It's been a good year. Where does it rank for you?
Man, I mean, the way we going, bro, we got to be real. Like, this could be shaping up as one of them ones, man. You know, listen, we started off nice with Hi-Fi Rush. You know, we got to put respect on Tears of the Kingdom name, regardless. Like, it's up there. It's in the mix. Got to put respect on Diablo's name. Right? Diablo with a nice
the servers
comeback.
Are what's keeping it away from me.
Oh, yeah, bro. 2 times in a dungeon.
Yeah.
Finished me and kicked me out. Oh,
top 5 for me right now. But those dungeons are just...
Yeah.
They're not souring me. Like, I know it's an amazing game, but it's really being a Debbie Downer right now because I'm like, I was like, yo, this is amazing. And now I'm just like, yeah, but if you can stay connected, it's amazing.
If you can stay connected. No doubt. They got to nitpick, you know what I'm saying? But I got to throw it in the mix.
Yeah.
You know, we got to see how Final Fantasy, I think the reviews just came out for Final Fantasy 16. You know, Spider-Man is coming. We got to be real, right? Spider-Man's coming. That's always usually in the mix. I don't think he didn't beat God of War that year in 2018, but he was in the mix. Then there's God Howard's outside, right? Howard is outside. So, man, those are my contenders right now. Those are the ones. So again, you know, we'll see if anybody sneaks in. I'm probably forgetting someone. I know I'm forgetting somebody, so I'll let you go. But those are ones I can think of off mine. And then he says, okay, what is my game of the year so far? Ooh, man, I mean, Tears is doing what Tears is. I gotta be respectful. I mean, Tears is so
really
special.
Wow.
It is special. Cog's personal because of what Cog likes. I'm leaning more Diablo right now, but
oh yeah, okay. I thought you were saying Tears was your personal, like this is what I'm picking for myself.
Oh no.
Yeah, oh, okay.
No. I've always had a little, you know, say like, look. I'm not going to be... The game is amazing. And it is truly doing some special stuff in the sandbox. And even narratively, they've improved stuff that I've given them a lot of smoke. It's just, this is a personal choice, right? Remember, this is the thing. Oh, shout out to my man Down in Town because he doesn't understand it. This is my homie. He always writes in. Game of the year, and this is subjective. This is personal choice. That's all this is. You can't, you know, you can compare certain things.
You're not drafting a fantasy team for God's sakes. Like, what's the best probability here of being game of the year? It's like, no, what am I picking for game of the year?
What I pick is what I like. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, my looter shooter sensibilities, Diablo is hitting it right now. Mm-hmm. But if I have to go with my heart and what I think will be Cog's game of the year, it's probably going to be Starfield. Like, but it's just I have to play it. We have to make sure it passes the test. So
I'm sure that'll look great for both of us when it's both our game of the years.
It's just a nomination. Y'all gonna get all type of smoke, all type of mess. I already got my vision. You gonna laugh. Like I'm never gonna spoil it to you. You're gonna laugh because I already know what I'm preparing to do. But that's what I got right now. What about you? As far as who's the contenders for you, and who is your early favorite?
Contenders, I just gotta piggyback you because I think you're right on the money. I think the big hitters have kind of come out and done exactly what we expected them to do. I think maybe Dead Space remake can squeak in there. I think maybe we'll see. Resident Evil 4 remake, of course, is going to squeak in there as well. I think that's going to be the one that usurps Dead Space remake to my disgust, but it's fine. I'll live as long as you give me a Dead Space remake too. Now, like I'm asking for it now. Like, you won me over, Motive. You won me over. But anyway, I think it's RE4 remake, Tears of the Kingdom. Like I'm thinking long term. Like I think these are just the obvious picks to me. Starfield, probably Final Fantasy 16, and that's 4. Diablo 4 possibly. I think there's room for like, I gotta say it, the token indie pick. Like someone's gonna Stray slipped in last year. Like give me a fucking break, man. I like Stray, but come on. That slipped in last year. So we know
Hi-Fi Rush can't slip in the back.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush maybe. Like we know some type of token indie game is going to kind of make its way in and be like, yo, yeah, like this industry is punching up above its weight, man. You don't gotta be AAA. We know the message it sends. We know there's going to be that indie game. And sometimes there are indie games of great, like Hades, where it's like, yeah.
Hades is fire.
But I'm not gonna bend the knee to Stray. I'm sorry. You ain't going to catch me doing that.
Vampire Survivors. There you go. Let's go.
Hell no. That too. Hell no. Sorry, Phil.
Sorry, Phil.
That'd be my 6. My personal game of the year, Octopath Traveler 2. I go back and forth between that and what Dead Space Remake did.
Not about that.
But Octopath Traveler 2, man, just special video game, like top to bottom. Just vast improvements across the board from the first game. Some of the best turn-based combat you can have in RPGs. A wonderful job system. An impressive level of effort on sprite art, which just goes unappreciated across the industry. But I mean, the amount of effort put into this game is insane. Fully voice acted and well acted at that. Fucking amazing final boss. Just, they did everything. They did everything right with this game. It's beautiful from top to bottom. I have nothing bad to say about it, truly. Mike and I did a spoiler cast review discussion on it. Like I feel like I nitpick anything that I have a problem with. Like there are things they do that are a little weird, probably because they're trying to go for a more old school JRPG, but like, dude, it's just fantastic. So that's my personal game of the year. Now I see a lot of people, because the question is, how would you rank 2023 in the terms of gaming years?
Right. Where you at?
It is definitely one of the better ones, but here's why I'm like gun-shy, but like it's one of the best. I'm like, we've had so much bullshit this year. We've had a lot of lows. A lot of I'm talking about like the highs, and maybe it's a perspective thing where you could like turn me right here, but I look at things like Redfall. Like last year we got a Crossfire X and a Babylon's Fall. I was like, okay, like
they're eliminated.
Yeah, like kind of we're done now. But this year it's like you got Redfall, Jedi Survivor on PC, and the list is just agonizingly long on just how much shit we've received. Like even every good game has felt like it's filled with some kind of caveat, like, yeah, RE4 Remake's fire. And here are the microtransactions afterwards. It's like, man, come on. Just let us. That's why I respect Dead Space Remake so much. Showed up, did what it had to do, and it got out. It was like, job's done. We're out. No monetization, nothing. Just a traditional $60 game. Here you go. Enjoy. No bullshit attached. Same thing with Octopath. Here you go. And I just feel like Final Fantasy 16, we're heading to the launch of this. Perfect example. We're going in. Narrative looks strong. Gameplay. Now we're hearing about frame rate. I'm like, yo, can't y'all just string together some wins here? I feel like I'm watching the Mets. Like, just string some wins together, please. That's what I feel like every time. Like every time. Like you can't just. You know why I say it? Because I feel like there have been years in gaming where like I gauge it almost on like, can my excitement be shamed here? The reason I'm excited for Starfield is I feel no shame. I'm like, yo, like this is that dude. Like this game looks incredible. But there are games like Jedi Survivor, to me, like a game of the year contender. It's on my list based off my experience. But there's I know like what I'm talking about. I know some of y'all had bad time with it, but like I did it. I hate having to do that. I get it's just the nature of our industry now, but I hate as a commentator and as a critic having to distinguish my opinion by saying like, I know y'all may have had a completely different experience from me. And I feel like there's been more of that this year than really any previous year. And that's why I'm like, yeah, man, the highs have been so high and we've been getting like good shit. But like the lows have just been, I think, so distracting and a major deterrent for me. But I'm curious for you, like how would you rank this year thus far? And obviously we still have half a year for this to change, but right now in the first half, that's my kind of vibe.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still think it's up there. I think because I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment just because it's, hot games this year, but I do feel like even in the golden years of what we call it, was it the 2017s or whatever it is, the BioShocks, man, all that stuff launches, like there was still some terrible titles that launched that year. I think every year is going to have that. I like your point on Caveat though, because like my theory with this generation so far is just like, as we've moved into next gen only, it ain't been the smoothest experience so far with frame rate, performance and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm noticing. That's a weird thing for me because I'm from the era like, now that you've gotten rid of the old stuff, you're supposed to be improving. You're supposed to be showing out now. So yeah. So look, the jury's still out. We're getting Forza's in the mix. That's a high quality game that, people, there's still a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously, the revamp. I mean, I don't know if you're paying attention to Jess Cornyn. I don't know if we're considering it, but Cyberpunk, like it could be having one of the most amazing comebacks in the history. Phantom Liberty, even though that's a DLC, so to speak. But from my understanding, the game is being kind of like redone from a core level. Where I'm like, Jess, I want to play Cyber. Stop, Cog, stop. I'm telling you, stop. And I'm like, I want to play. It's amazing on my Ally. I want to keep playing, like that kind of thing. So we'll see. But I feel it's going to be. It potentially could be a top 5. May not be, to your point, the number 1, but I think if we look back at it, provided the remaining players execute, it could be up there. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how the year shakes out. But otherwise, thank you for writing in, Cody. Great topic, great conversation. Thank you to everyone else for writing in another episode of Defining Duke and Xbox Podcast. I won't forget this time, COG, #.
Oh yeah, I'm struggling with this. There's so much news, bro. Like we're to the point like we're complaining we have no games and no stuff to talk. Like, we got stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Good times.
Yeah.
Something about the price is going up, right? It's got to be.
Price of the brick, right? Yeah. You got
price hike, DD.
Price hike, DD, inflation, DD. I don't know. Yeah, price hike.
Inflation's nice. So you took what I said and just put it into one.
Let's go inflation. Let's go inflation, DD.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you got this deep, you want to let us know your thoughts on Defining Duke and Xbox Podcast, episode 129. You can tag me on Twitter. I'm at G27status. COG is at Lord Cognito. Use the hashtag InflationDD. Let us know your thoughts on whether it be Twitter, YouTube comments, what have you, on the episode. We're looking forward to hearing from you. COG, any closing thoughts before I wrap it up?
Another fire one. I really enjoyed this episode. Really cool.
Sure.
A lot of stuff to talk about. Yes. We managed to somehow get through it. It's still a long episode, but it was good. I enjoyed a lot of it. So yeah, I'm excited. We got to see what's going to happen. Big week. We'll see how the predictions hold up with politics and all that other stuff. It'll be a fun next week to see how things play out for the next 2 weeks.
100%.
And yourself?
With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you so much, and we will catch you next time for episode 130 of Defining Duke and Xbox Podcast. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox Podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.